Rodgers on the edge of the penalty area, right foot in low shot, and he's picked up the bottom corner.
Me and Michael Carrick had a conversation about it when I was at Middlesbrough about not just being a player that's got potential.
He finds Morgan Rodgers, great turn, brilliant goal! Oh, that's magic from Morgan!
I think Morgan Rodgers is the key, I really do.
And to go on, we're talking November, mid-November, and to make his debut for England, got 2 caps now. He's been on fire as well.
I wanted to be a mainstay in the team. I wanted to progress and develop, and I wanted to show what I'm about and kind of take that next leap. The manager that I've got behind me, it's the perfect person for me that demands and pushes me every day.
Morgan Rodgers really made such a great impact with this Villa side. He is back to face the side where he was a trainee. I wonder, Scott Minto. Why did I call him Scott Parker?
Right, Resh. I've been with you for an hour and a half.
I don't know where that came from. Is this almost another case of a young player that Manchester City maybe should have thought about keeping? A bit like the Cole Palmer scenario.
Look, I know the two of them played in the Youth Cup final and both scored in it as well. Cole Palmer getting the winning goal. No, I think sometimes, and I even say the same about Cole Palmer. We talked about Jack Grealish earlier. You know, sometimes people need to get away to actually show what they're about, to go out and blossom. Look, Manchester City, and you know what I think about Pep Guardiola. I think he's one of the greatest ever. But there's players that need to play in certain positions, and if Cole Palmer, with respect, isn't be able to get a regular starting slots in the Manchester City first team, then Morgan Rodgers isn't. But I love a story where people have to take a step back to go 2 forward. He was only at Middlesbrough for 6 months, but he's been sensational here at Villa Park as well. You know, the fans absolutely love him, and he's already an international.
He is, yeah. Absolutely right. There is something about that, isn't there, where they better themselves going somewhere else and they come back even stronger. Do you know what? It is absolutely loud here at Villa Park. What a great day we've got. We've got 2 sides, actually. We've sort of mirrored each other in recent weeks. We talk about City's slump in form. Across 7 Premier League games, Villa have lost 4 of their last 7. Manchester City have lost 5 of their last 7. Across 11 games in all competitions, Villa have lost 6. Manchester City have lost 8. So they're not all that different. But here at Villa Park, Villa are unbeaten in their last 7. Possibly the worst place for Manchester City to come when confidence is low. But that is exactly what we're looking forward to. How will Manchester City respond in this situation now, particularly before this busy Christmas break? It's an interesting one, isn't it, with these 2 managers? So many Spaniards have crossed the continent to ply their trade in English football in the Premier League. We've got some of the best of them, haven't we? Pep Guardiola, stratosphere of his own. Last week he was wondering if he was good enough to deal with the current City crisis. We've got Unai Emery, a serial Europa League winner. But in 15 matches against Pep Guardiola, he's only beaten him once. And that, it wasn't in Spain, it wasn't in Europe, it was actually in the Villa dugout in this fixture last season. You wonder, can he mastermind more misery for his countrymen and help himself and Villa do the double against City for the first time in over 30 years? Which of these 2 managers will enjoy a Feliz Navidad? Will it be Christmas cheer or bar humbug? This is a fascinating one, everybody. A 12:30 kickoff is approaching, and I'm going to hand you over to our commentary team now. Scott Minto, but first, Sam Matterface.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a festively decorated Villa Park in Birmingham, one of the most historic and original football grounds in the country. We are in the Trinity Road stand, about 5 rows back from the first elevation, about 20 yards left of the halfway line. The vibrant Holt End to our right is clanging with the most boisterous, decked in their famous claret and blue. It is that time of the year where you huddle around the TV and radio with the rest of the family and do a bit of rare communal watching and listening. You might be waiting for Gavin and Stacey or Wallace and Gromit, but Manchester City are most looking forward to the 1% club. For Pep Guardiola's all-conquering City have been given just a 1.8% chance of winning the Premier League by the Opta supercomputer. Now, they've mounted some unbelievable winning runs, but this would require a twist that even EastEnders wouldn't be brave enough to script. Used to being top of the pops by now, City have lost 5 of the last 7 Premier League games and a joint bottom of the Premier League form table if you take it from the beginning of November. Yeah, joint bottom with Southampton. The reasons? Too many casualties in terms of squad depth. They're outnumbered by Chelsea and Liverpool, and they have proven that even masterminds suffer mental fragility. Aston Villa have produced a few dodgy episodes too. They are 10 points off where they were at this stage last year, but they are most happiest here, at home, at Villa Park, where their team, their supporters, feel that they are in a fortress.
Villa Park, it is time for kick-off. It is time to get behind the boys in claret and blue. Please welcome Manchester City and Aston Villa.
The two teams emerge to pyrotechnics and loud music, which is absolutely deafening, by the way. I don't know if they got a new sound system for Christmas here at Villa Park, but they have turned it up to the max. They've turned the temperature up to the max as well. The fireworks and the smoke machines go off, and the two teams are ready for battle. Aston Villa have made one change from their most recent defeat, which was against Nottingham Forest last weekend. In comes Amadou Onana. Diego Carlos is injured. It means a rejig in the back line. Emi Martinez is their goalkeeper. Cash, Konsa, Torres and Luca Digne make up the back four. Boubacar Kamara, Tielemans and Onana in midfield. Morgan Rogers, the exciting young winger who will play just behind John Duran, is joined by John McGinn. For Manchester City, well, they've made a huge number of changes from their most recent disappointment. Stefan Ortega is the goalkeeper. Rico Lewis is back in defence. So is John Stones. Akanji and Gvardiol make up the four. Gundogan and Kovacic in midfield with Foden, Silva, Grealish, all supporting Erling Haaland in attack, who 18 goals in 23 games, you can't say is out of form, but he has scored just 3 in his last 11 Premier League matches. Peter Banks is the referee down in England, the VAR. He did this game here 3.5 years ago and sent off Matt Cash and John Stones in separate incidents. Let's hope the only cards he dishes out today are Christmas ones. Scott Minto is in the commentary box here with me, Sam Matterface, live on the Talk Network. Which way is it going to go?
Well, first of all, Sam, thank you for your Christmas card giving earlier, so I do appreciate that.
I'm a very thoughtful guy, Scott.
That's the type of guy that you are.
Picked it up in the WH Smiths at Birmingham New Street.
I know, it's better than nothing. Better than what Resh gave me anyway, which was nothing. Keeps on getting my name wrong.
She bought you some wine gums.
No, she did. Look, what do we see today? Honestly, the way Man City are playing, I'm really not quite sure. We talked about how Aston Villa have found it a little bit difficult to deal with the Champions League and Premier League. There's only one time that they've won following a Champions League game, and that was at Wolves. I was here and they were really poor in the first half, but Wolves didn't get a shot on or off target in the second. But both these teams have had a full week now to prepare. Fascinated to see how Manchester City are going to play, whether they're going to play with a high intensity and try and press from the front, or perhaps realise that just at this moment in time they're lacking that little bit of intensity. So without the ball they might just drop off a little bit. Look, Aston Villa haven't lost at home since the opening game of the season in the Champions League, in the Premier League. I just see goals both ends. That's all I see. And it's just a question of who's going to score the most.
Hull City, Swansea, Portsmouth commentary, Sheffield Wednesday, Stoke all about to start in the Championship on Talksport 2 right now. It's Portsmouth Coventry. Nigel Adderley is there bringing you commentary on that. If you want to listen to it, you can flick to Talksport 2 via our app. In League 1, Bristol Rovers take on Wrexham, Lincoln take on Reading. In League 2, Barrow Fleetwood and Doncaster Rovers in action against Tranmere. They're all the lunchtime kickoffs we'll keep you up to date with here. Remember, Adrian Durham takes you round the grounds from 2:30. Talksport have got a Christmas special for you too this year. On Boxing Day, we've got 10 live commentaries, a whopping 15 hours of football. But this lunchtime, it's Aston Villa against Manchester City, and only fools and horses would attempt to predict the outcome of this game. But what we can promise you over the next 90 minutes is a fabulous storyline, Scott Minto.
Yeah, absolutely. As I say, I've really no idea which way it is going to go. Manchester City at some point need to get back to winning ways and winning on a regular basis as well. But Villa Park is really not an easy place to go, and the fans are loving what they're seeing under Unai Emery. As I say, it's going to be an interesting game.
Manchester City have given the ball away straight away, and John Duran is racing through. He's hit the ball towards Ortega's net, and he's pushed the ball round the post. Well, the ball came back towards the City defence, and Josko Gvardiol had a real wobble, played a terrible ball backwards. He didn't catch it right. He had it pinched by John McGinn, and John Duran went running through the middle, but got a little bit eager, rushed his effort, and Ortega can make an easy save. But that, if it's a sign of things to come, shows that those mental scars that still seem to be lingering around Manchester City have not healed. They're wearing fluorescent yellow and black striped jerseys with black patches on the back and black shorts. They're supposed to be attacking the goal away to our right, the Holt end. And Aston Villa in claret and blue attacking the goal away to our left, and they have the first corner of the game. It'll be whipped in by McGinn towards the near post, flicked on by Pau Torres. It's off the post, it went underneath the post and clawed away by Stefan Ortega, and there were Aston Villa players and supporters who thought that crossed the line. 2 early scares and 2 big saves from Stefan Ortega in the first 2 minutes of the game.
Great reactions from Ortega there, really was, but the chance just before, John Duran's not going to get a better opportunity in the whole game. It was a one-on-one, and he did take it too early. What a start for Villa, but they've got to try and score if they can.
Pau Torres' header at the near post really caused Ortega problems. He stooped low to flick it off the bar. Another corner, this time deep towards the far post, and Ortega backpedaling, has to watch it all the way and tip it over the top. Well, it was a brilliant delivery from Luca Digne. He almost done a Heung-min Son.
Yeah, he did. I thought he overplayed it actually, but it dipped in, and he had to be careful, Ortega. And we know with goal line technology, it's either over or it's not. There's no doubt about it. It was really good reaction save from the keeper.
We played just 2 minutes, and the goal has been peppered away to our left by Aston Villa, who've made a really fast start. City look wobbly. It's in towards the middle of the 6-yard box, and the free header from Onana goes over the top of the crossbar, and he puts his head in his hands because he thinks he should have done better. From 5 yards out as that cross came in, he met it, and it went over the top.
Well, we've had 3 decent corners, and that was the best one of the lot. The way he's just whipped that in, Tielemans, Ortega can't come out and claim it. And someone the likes of Onana, the height he is, if you can get it, if you can get a good, clean header on it, then he just needs to get it on target. Ortega would have had no chance there.
I had a concern right at the beginning when I saw, I was going to make a joke about us going back to Morecambe and Wise Christmas special days, because the ball went back from the centre spot straight away. City took the kick-off, they sent it all the way back to Ortega, who was standing on the edge of his box, and he just launched it upfield. They didn't win the header, it came straight back, and then they messed the back pass up, and all of a sudden they were in trouble. And the coordinating pressing of Aston Villa right now is absolutely killing Manchester City. They haven't got hold of the ball, and they haven't got out of their own half.
No, they haven't. What I would say, though, the corners, 3 of them, were the result of that, first of all, the poor back pass or the interception from McGinn that put John Duran in, and he must be kicking himself because he was literally through on goal. He took a couple of touches, and he could have taken a couple more, but in the end, he kind of panicked a little bit. And it really was a weak shot and a decent save from Ortega, but if Villa were able to score in the first minute, then talk about destiny of Manchester City and the defenders, what they were talking about. That certainly would have been a nightmare start.
Barrow lead by a goal to 0 against Fleetwood, and Portsmouth already 1 down in our other commentary game over on Talksport 2 right now. Coventry City lead after just 3 minutes of that game. Beset with the goal set up by Ephraim Mason-Clark, and it's 1-0 to Frank Lampard's Coventry. Here is Stefan Ortega away to our left-hand side. 2 out of form and out of sorts sides. Aston Villa only 2 wins in their last 12. City 8 defeats in 11 and just 1 win. 9 points off the leaders. Someone needs a timely return to form. The ball lifted out towards Grealish over on the far side, who brings it down out the sky, takes on Cash, goes towards the bylines, getting booed by the supporters, gets it on his right foot, tries to curl it towards the far stick. Couldn't get enough whip on it to come round and trouble Emi Martinez, but after dancing down that left channel and getting into the box, getting the better of Cash and working it onto his right foot, coming infield, he opened his body up and tried to put it in the far corner, but he just couldn't get enough whip behind it to pull it back in towards that far post.
What a first touch that was from Jack Grealish, and again, he was right to come inside there, and he almost got it towards the far post.
Well, now it's City's turn to apply the high press. It's back to Grealish, edge of the area. Snuffed out, gets it back again, tries to piece his way through the tight Aston Villa defence. They're trying to escape now. Tielemans finds John Duran, gets it back to Tielemans. Tielemans looks up, spreads the play to the right. So much space in behind Vardiol. A good ball by McGinn in towards Duran, who was trying to get the better of Akanji, who slid in and had to put it behind. It's away for another corner. It was a lightning transition, worked out to John McGinn on the right-hand side. He just fed the ball into the centre, just a bit more on it, and he would have found Duran. But it was behind and away by Akanji, who just stuck out one of those telescopic limbs to push it behind.
And that's the problem when you've got an inverted full-back going into midfield like Rico Lewis, because Guardiola needs to come across. And by coming across, he allows a lot more space for McGinn to run down the right wing. And he was unlucky. He was very nearly putting Duran in.
Well, both managers said they were grateful for a week on the training pitch with no midweek action. So far, it looks like Aston Villa used their time the better. In towards the near post it goes. Headed away this time by Rico Lewis. Boubacar Kamara switches it back. It's a bit too heavy for Luca Digne. It's going to fly out of play and go out for a kick away to our left-hand side. But what a really good start by Aston Villa. 6 minutes gone. It's Aston Villa 0, Manchester City 0. City, who were lethargic against Manchester United for large parts of that game last Sunday. And Aston Villa actually played all right against Nottingham Forest at times. You know, they should have won that game. They should have seen that out. They were a little bit naive, and they have been in recent weeks. They still have the ability to play with an intensity and a tempo that City in their current guys have been struggling to match.
Yeah, absolutely. I've just seen a replay of that save from Ortega and the goal line technology. It's just as well from City's point of view has got to be the hold of the ball over the hold of the line, because it was about 7/8 of it was over. It's a brilliant save.
Well, listen, you're going to make a big call, and Ederson is apparently injured, but we know that he has been out of favour and form with Pep Guardiola, who dropped him actually for the first 3 games of this month.
I might just keep an eye on that one going forward, because if he is injured, then fine. If he's not, and he's not even on the bench.
Thrown in for John Duran, whose first time effort sends the goalkeeper plunging to his right. But again, it was just a little bit too rushed from John Duran. It looked a little bit raw, that. He's 21 years of age, he scores a lot of goals. He's been really impactful since signing for Aston Villa. But that's 2 big chances in the match. 8 minutes gone. Haaland at the other end now, racing away down the City left. He combines with Gundogan, who drops out of the penalty area, moves to the far side, about 6 or 7 yards in from the left touchline. Back to Mateo Kovacic, who looks like he's borrowed a packet of Just for Men. Plays the ball out towards this near side and gives it to Foden, and then it's collected by Bernardo Silva, twisting and turning down the right side. I know what you're thinking. You can talk. Yeah, it's fine.
No, I'm thinking I need to have a word with him after the game and borrow some of his.
Stones elevates the ball out towards the far side, takes it down. Grealish is pushed to the floor. The referee gives a free kick. Our referee today, Peter Banks, immediately reacting to that push by Mady Cash over on the far side. It is going to be a free kick a yard in from the touchline.
You mentioned about that chance there for John Duran, but again, I look at it from a defensive point of view. That was just a simple throw, Sam. It wasn't even a throw, get it down, 1-2 pass. That was just a throw in, and Duran had to take it early, and it bounced up, and yes, he didn't get great connection, but just the fact that City were that open defensively from
Absolutely.
a throw-in.
Yeah, it was too easy, wasn't it? It was simple. Now they've just got to defend this set piece from the far side, which Gundogan and Phil Foden are standing over in front of the front row of the Doug Ellis stand opposite us. Manchester City fans away to our left-hand side in the corner, watching from some distance as their team try to construct a meaningful attack. Barrow are 2-0 up against Fleetwood. And there is a ball in towards the back edge of the 6-yard box, headed by Pau Torres into the air, further cleared by John Duran. The ball drops inside the penalty area. Luca Digne couldn't keep it alive. Kovacic does. He works it wide to the right. It's collected now by Silva, and now Kovacic moves forward. Down the right he goes, poking it into the path of Bernardo Silva, making his 250th Premier League appearance. He reverses the ball to Akanji, then gets it back again. A little bit of a lack of tempo there about Manchester City when they get into advanced areas. That's been an issue recently. And Akanji swings the ball right-footed towards the penalty spot, defended well by Pau Torres. Away by Digne. Rodgers couldn't get hold of it, and that's a clumsy challenge by Onana, which gives a free kick to Phil Foden 5 yards back from the edge of the penalty area.
just got to be careful from a defensive point of view there, Onana. Yes, I think it is the loudest PA system I've seen in many a year, and they don't seem to turn it down when the game starts. In other words, the crowd just keeps it going. The atmosphere here is nothing short of sensational, and sometimes as a player you can get carried away, especially if you've had a really good start. Onana can't afford to give away free kicks in this position.
A free kick then, which will be taken. It's a little bit further back now, actually. They've sort of rolled it back a bit, and it's 10 yards outside the box, right side. A chance for Gundogan or Foden to float this in towards the diagonally opposite edge of the 6-yard box, possibly for Akanji or Stones to run in on. Gvardiol, who's the best goal-scoring defender in 2024, looking to try and influence proceedings as well. It's a bit further than that towards Haaland, and Rodgers gets there first, heads it behind, and maybe it took a little flick off of a Manchester City body. They think there was a handball there, maybe even a push, the Manchester City players, but I think that's a corner. Matt Cash is being accused, and the VAR will look at it. There was certainly some pushing going on involving, about 4 or 5 players all coming together in a big pile in the middle of the box, and Ezri Konsa was involved in that, and the referee shook his head, and Darren England, the VAR, has said nothing doing. There is a little bit of a breeze rustling around in front of Emi Martinez's goal. We can't really feel it here, but you can see the corner flags flapping. Gundogan about to take the corner, far side. We've played grand total of 12 minutes. Ball in towards the near post, not a good one, which is headed away by Matt Cash, picked up by Grealish, who's for some reason not very popular here. They did get 100 million quid for him.
He's got to be one of the most popular former players, surely, given his club £100 million basically. Didn't have to sign his contract, did he, before he left?
Exactly. Here he is, dancing down the left-hand side, exchanging passes with Gundogan, gets to the corner flag and then turns it back to the edge of the area. Now it's with Kovacic, who strikes from distance down the middle of the goal, and it's saved by Emi Martinez, and he will clear it away. I was just a bit surprised about that, really. I thought he would get quite a good reception, because I know he's sort of quite vocal about how much he loves Villa and how much he loves Birmingham as a town. Unai Emery saying yesterday that he wants his players to show a bit of fight. They've certainly looked as if they're up for the scrap in the opening exchanges. They've had the best chances, and that ball's just held up in the wind there, and Duran almost won it, and then he was offside anyway.
The Boring, we're pantomime season, aren't we?
Oh, we are a bit, yes. Why not? And there's a little bit of a pantomime going on about where we should take this free kick from. We must get that right, whatever we do. Right to the blade of grass, just in case someone would steal half a centimetre. Here is Kovacic, back to Akanji, back into Kovacic as well. He's gone for the Rodri look, hasn't he, today, Kovacic? He's tucked that shirt into his shorts. Maybe he thinks if he emulates the man whose place he's taken is almost to a T, he can replicate his performance.
Well, you can try. not easy to replicate the Ballon d'Or.
Good luck with that. Here is Foden, skipping past 2 or 3 challenges and then getting his shirt pulled back. It's going to be a free kick.
One thing I would say is, Rico Lewis is coming inside. Manchester City are playing like a 3, but also Matty Cash is tucking inside there, and that diag to Jack Grealish out on the left is on every time if they want to try and play it in.
He's staying very wide, Jack Grealish, isn't he? He's almost on the touchline, and as you say, they're tucking in a little bit, the full-backs of Aston Villa. Gundogan occupying a bit of space in between Ezri Konsa and Matt Cash. Here is Bernardo Silva for Manchester City, travelling down the right-hand side. He plays the ball to Akanji, and there is that big switch out to the left where there is space for Grealish. He meets it. Cash now goes to try and close him down. Grealish gets a run on him and gets into the penalty area, drags it back, tries a trick. He's then backed up by Kamara, and the two of them manage to get the ball out of the penalty area together, the Aston Villa players, and Manchester City have to recycle it and start again with Kovacic in midfield.
Yeah, the reason why he's on and he seems to be in a lot of space is because Gundogan and Foden are pushing on, so therefore with Haaland as well, that's 3 attacking players. You need 4. You need an extra person around the side, so the fullbacks need to push in. So therefore Jack Grealish is free quite often if they can try and get it out to him as often as possible.
Another one of those moments where it looked as if the Manchester City were carving themselves open, and then as they play it out towards the left-hand side, Jack Grealish gets nabbed by Matt Cash. Grealish springs up and asks for a yellow card there. He gets just a free kick, but he wasn't happy with the attention that he was getting from Cash. You are listening to Aston Villa Neil, Manchester City 0 on Talksport with Sky Sports. Don't forget that you can stream the biggest Premier League games available with no contract on now, like Crystal Palace Arsenal live today. Search Now Sports.
He's had over 3 times the amount of minutes at Villa Park in a Manchester City shirt than he's had before, hasn't he?
Yes, he has, yeah. 1-1, the score on Talksport 2. Portsmouth against Coventry. Portsmouth really need a festive pickup, and Callum Lang has given them that. Colby Bishop with the assist. It's 1-1 at Fratton Park. Here is Akanji, back to Ortega. Oh, heavy touch, and Duran was there again, just ready to close him down, but he managed to release it out to the far side. He is very good with his feet, Stefan Ortega. Although Jack Grealish is being harassed again over on the far side. He's given the ball away, and McGuinness got it midway inside City territory, wide on the right. They go back to Kamara, and now Onana. Kamara once more. We've played 16 minutes. Talksport 0-0. And it's been an interesting fascinating start to the game, with such a fast start from Aston Villa. They've just taken their foot off the gas a little bit and allowed City to creep into the game again.
I think it's that City has wrestled a bit more control and got hold of the ball a bit better and passed it around.
But here they come, and one straight ball through the middle has undone them, and Rodgers is away. He's got Duran for company. Duran is there, slips it home. It's 1-0 to Aston Villa. It's been coming, I'm afraid, right from the very off, and John Duran has done it again. Every time he starts, he scores. It was a brilliant ball from Tielemans, and as it went through to Rodgers, he was single-minded. We have to score from this chance, he thought. I'm not best placed, John Duran is. He slipped it to his right. Duran under the goalkeeper from the edge of the box. It's 1-0 to Aston Villa. And on a night where there was a chance for one of these sides to reset their season, it's the villains who have stolen a march.
It's absolutely brilliant play from Aston Villa, and it starts from Emi Martinez. Look, City were starting to wrestle back control and possession of the game, but we spoke about how, from a defensive point of view, the lack of kind of defensive midfielders that Manchester City had, and it was far too easy. The transition is where they're at their weakest, and that's exactly what happened. Emi Martinez, straight ball into Tielemans, who turns. It's a great run from Rodgers, but no one's tracking him for midfield, and the centre halves are not reading the situation and dropping off. So by the time he's received the ball, he's pretty much through on goal. I don't believe John Duran's passing that if he's on the ball first of all. But Morgan Rodgers in number 10 and realises that John Duran, he can take out both the defender and practically the goalkeeper by making that pass. And in the end, it was a simple finish.
Terrific.
Brilliant play from Villa.
Absolutely
well
terrific.
Worked in the training ground as well.
Yeah, you could see that. Tielemans knew as soon as he picked the ball up, if I get it and release it quickly, they can expose the high line. Rodgers has got the pace, Duran's got the pace. It's 1-0 to Aston Villa, and City are behind again.
As soon as that ball was coming into Tielemans, Rodgers was making that third man run going in behind. So once he was able to turn his man, Tielemans just played it. Wasn't even a ball over the top. And that makes it even worse from Manchester City's defensive point of view.
Grealish into the box looking for Haaland, who's hardly had a kick. It's headed away by Konsa, and now Rodgers is racing clear again. Rodgers, remember, a former Manchester City trainee, skipping past a former teammate Enrico Lewis, dragged to the floor, free kick 2 yards inside City territory, just left of the centre circle. Well, Manchester City knew they would have to be extra alert about this Aston Villa attack. John Duran now on a brilliant run, his best ever scoring run for Villa. He's scored in each of the last 4 games. He's starting 3 successive Premier League games for the first time. Every time he started in all competitions this season, 6 games now, he has scored in every single one. You can't do more than that, can you?
No. And to think that Aston Villa were willing to let him go last season.
Ball slipped down the left-hand side, and they've switched off City again, and Digne's trying to get round the back, and Pau Torres almost found him. It was just a little bit too heavy, and Ortega reacted, but he was the only one who did.
Yeah, you know, if the figure was right, Aston Villa were willing to sell. He was almost nicknamed Captain Chaos last season, because you wonder whether the penny would drop. All the attributes in the world, but can he put that into being professional?
Well, Manchester City are behind and need to find a way to find their rhythm. I'm looking at Pep Guardiola again. He's tapping his feet as if he was listening to Last Christmas by Wham away to our right. He's wrapped up. His arms are folded in front of him. And he looks agitated. And I think as well he might, because that was very simple. It was a bowl out by Emi Martinez into midfield. Tielemans picks it up, releases it straight down the middle into Rodgers. He's in, squares it, Duran 1-0.
Disappointing thing is, again, from a defensive point of view, and there's so many of them, but even that ball from Martinez, it was a straight pass into Tielemans, and that's not really something you should do because you've got your back to play. So I can't remember who it was who was trying to close him. Again, we talk about intensity or lack of, or where Manchester City don't quite have it where they did in previous seasons. Someone has to get tighter and not allow him to turn. By allowing him to turn, then Morgan Rodgers is in if the ball is right, and boy was it.
Ball kick clear. Up over the halfway line by Emi Martinez, headed away by Josko Gvardiol. It's one in midfield by Gundogan. A little bit sloppy from Kovacic, almost gave it away, but Lewis is there to tidy up inside the centre circle for Manchester City, who trail by a 1-0. Aston Villa fans keen to press the claim that they're not in the same boat as Newcastle found themselves last season. They too have found the combination of Champions League and Premier League brutal and difficult to cope with. And they have struggled actually to win games after European matches. But that's always going to be the case when you are a new team to the Champions League and you haven't been allowed because of PSR to robustly enhance your squad. But they've got good players here and they are very well organised, and they have started this game the better. 21 gone. Aston Villa 1. Manchester City 0. Kovacic being harassed by Kamara, illegally so, gets too close to him, trips him, gives him free kick to Manchester City. Kovacic gets it moving again, and Manchester City looking to try and find a little bit of rhythm, which they haven't found so far. In the Championship, 0-0 Hull Swansea, Portsmouth 1, Coventry 1, Sheffield Wednesday 0, Stoke 0. And in League One, Wrexham lead away at Bristol Rovers, Lincoln are 1-up against Reading, Barrow 2-0 up against Fleetwood, and Doncaster goalless with Tranmere. You're up to date on Talksport, and you will be throughout the course of the afternoon if you listen to Adrian Durham's Game Day Live from 2:30 today. And he'll keep you in touch with absolutely everything that's going on. Here is Kovacic for Manchester City inside the Aston Villa half, midway between the edge of the centre circle and the D. He sprays it to Akanji, then further wide now, tight to the touchline, and the skipping Silva, who goes beyond Luca Digne and then tries to get across him, but he's closed down by Rodgers. It spirals into the penalty area. Gundogan tried to react. Anana attempts to clear, but only as far as Stones. Into Lewis, who's 10 yards in front of him, just right of the middle of the half, which Manchester City are attacking in. You know the soundtrack that goes with the Sonic logo that goes with Jack Grealish. It's a soundtrack of boos from this Villa supporters. He traps it on his chest, brings it down, travels infield. Villa retreat into a shape, a big mesh of dark claret and light blue jerseys just in front of their 18-yard box, just trying their best to keep at bay the Manchester City machine. It's overhit by Akanji behind Gvardiol. It flies as he attempts the big diag and goes out of play and away for an Aston Villa throw.
No, but that ball's on though. That ball's on every time, and this time it wasn't to Jack Grealish. He'd be the one who'd come inside, and Matty Cash has to go with him, and therefore down the left-hand side.
Well, given away back to Emi Martinez, and a little bit of pressure was put on the goalkeeper there by Phil Foden.
Got to be careful, can't give away silly goals like that when you're 1-0 up against Manchester City, and the players have already publicly talked about when they go down and feels like destiny they're going to lose. Don't give away a silly goal.
Well, I was at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Thursday night, if you want to talk about giving away silly goals. I saw David James actually earlier on, and I asked him, I said, could you just go through like a couple of the goals with me and just tell me from a goalkeeping perspective what you thought about them? He did his best to defend them. Here's Grealish, edge of the area, trying to get into his right foot, tries a shot come cross. I think it was a shot, but it sort of went a little bit too far away from the goal, so Haaland attacked it and missed it, and it flies out by the corner flag for a throw-in for Aston Villa.
No, but it's on every time. It's just a wonderful first touch from Jack Grealish. But I mean, okay, look, we talked about how he seems to come inside all the time, but when you're in the final third, that's okay. Come inside if you can have a shot. He tried to have a shot, it was a poor one, but he is looking dangerous, and the key thing for me is he's looking like he wants to try and do something. He's trying to be decisive rather than just pass it back.
Given away by Rodgers. Haaland pinches it, but then gives it away himself. Martinez has to come rushing out because Grealish is pressurising. Grealish has got 2 goals in 3 appearances for England this season. No goals for City this campaign or in the Premier League for a whole year. More than a year since he last scored for City, but he's a former son of the Holt End, one-time Prince of Villa Park. He'll be desperate to impress on his return.
By the way, there's a shock, J-Mo, being in the goalkeepers union.
I did think that. I thought maybe I've asked the wrong guy here. No, he was actually quite good technically about the corner goal and where you should stand, and he was talking about, you know, the way that actually he felt the defence should have reacted to Altay Biandia's parry out from the Pedro Porro effort, and they didn't, which they, you know, evident anyway.
Sign of a good striker, though, isn't it?
He's been in good form, hasn't he? He did well, I thought, on Thursday night, Dominic Solanke. And there's a good striker who's scoring a lot of goals, who has put Aston Villa in front here at Villa Park on a sunny, rather mild December Saturday lunchtime just before Christmas. The perfect weather for you to go out and about shopping as you get ready to stuff the stockings and the sacks. Take Talksport with you on the app, and you can do all the bits you need to do, all the chores you need to do whilst listening to the football. Here's Stones on the edge of the centre circle, and then City try to poke through a very intricate passage of passing past Aston Villa's press, but almost lose it and then panic. Stones recovers and then tries to launch it down towards the left, where Jack Grealish once again is on his own and enjoying a little bit of space. He wins it, takes it from the corner flank back to the back edge of the penalty area, feeds Kovacic, now Akanji with space to manoeuvre, gives it to Haaland, back to goal, outside of the area, inside to Akanji. Akanji hasn't really got anywhere to wander, everyone behind the ball for Villa. He switches it again to that left. Seems to be the Silk Road, but it hasn't really produced anything just yet for City. Here's Gvardiol trying to tee it up at the far post. Pau Torres flicks it away, further cleared by Digne, who heads the ball into the air, and then John Duran scampering out into the left full-back position to help out his defence, tries to kick it as far away from his goal as possible. And applause from Unai Emery, the manager of Aston Villa. Again they go out to Grealish far side. He chests it down, gives it to Gvardiol, turns it infield to Kovacic. Immediately Tielemans engages and tries to pressurise him, but all the football being played in the Villa half at the moment, Scott.
It's on all the time, that switch ball.
Gundogan trying to poke it around the corner for Haaland. Out comes Emi Martinez very quickly. He was watched cleverly by Ezri Konsa, who scampered back into position anyway, and it's picked up by Martinez and will be cleared by Aston Villa, who lead by a goal to nil.
So because Foden and Gundogan are pushing on, when they're on that sort of inside right, they can switch it to Jack Grealish all the time. And actually it was really good from Grealish, because he realised he had two players on him, laid it back to Radiol, put the ball in, and Haaland's got getting the end of those. It's a really good cross in. That's what you want your striker to get in and beat the centre half with a little bit of movement just as the cross is coming in or just before it's come in.
Jack Grealish again on the ball, gives it to Gvardiol. Didn't actually engage with that, sort of left it, and it was picked off by Kovacic. If there had have been an Aston Villa player pressurising in that zone, then there would have been some issues there for Manchester City. Here is Akanji, back to Gvardiol again. Here comes John McGinn, thundering forward behind him. So Gvardiol gives it back to his goalkeeper on the edge of the D and then turns and tries to play it forward. Manchester City certainly have struggled with injuries all season. Diaz, Bob, Rodri, Ake, Akanji all have been recent dwellers of the treatment room, but Akanji is back today, Stones is back today, Ake's on the bench today. That sort of hints at a brighter future. Villa have had the injuries causing them problems too. Ramsey's been out since November the 9th. Leon Bailey has missed the last two before today. He's back on the bench. Mings pulled out in the warm-up after only just coming back to fitness last weekend. And it's turned into a bit of a cagey game now as we approach the half-hour mark here at Villa Park. Here is Bernardo Silva, again looking out to the left for Grealish. He's asked a lot of Grealish to try and rescue that, but Grealish has done it, but inadvertently, in keeping it in, has given it to Matt Cash, who's raced away. It's forward by Boubacar Kamara into Tielemans. Duran on halfway. Now Rodgers. Where are they going here, Aston Villa? They pick it up with Tielemans again. Left side is Luca Digne. Back infield it goes to Onana. And then Tielemans, and just a chance to calm it down and keep the ball for Aston Villa after a period of defending. And a chance to sort of shake the sting out of Manchester City for a moment.
Yeah, it's really good play from the central midfielders there, Tielemans and Onana in particular. You know, that transition is always on at Manchester City.
Long ball out towards Digne on this near side. Akanji comes out. I think he was offside there, Digne. He made his run at the right time, but the ball didn't come quick enough for him.
It wasn't a great ball, but they're so vulnerable on that quick counter-attack. But in the end, it wasn't on then. So then it was a question of just keeping the ball. And they had a little 3 or 4 one-touch passes between them before they just played it back again. And just taking the sting out of the game, because it's down to Manchester City now. You know, they want to win this game, not just draw it. They want to come away with all 3 points. They will need to try and attack as the game goes on, and that counter-attack will be on all the time for Villa.
Manchester City work it out to Jack Grealish again. You might as well just anticipate that that's going to happen every time. His cross into the box is a good one, but it's headed away by Pau Torres. It was just a little bit too high for Haaland. It breaks to halfway. Stones will restart it again. He's probably going to look up and play it to Grealish over on that left-hand side. Instead, actually, he gives it to Akanji, who's just next to him. And then Stones looks up and now edges out towards that ball. No, he's declined it again.
It's just horrible for Matty Cash right now, because he knows he has to come and leave his man and come more inside, but he also knows that diagonal to Jack Grealish is on every time. So there's a real balance for him about knowing when to tuck round, or when it looks like that diag's coming, then you try and get tight to Jack Grealish and don't let him get a chance to run at you with pace.
I don't think that was a foul from Onana, coming from behind, just shadowing Gundogan. Gundogan just used a bit of experience there just to slow up at the final moment and drop to the floor and take a bit of pressure off, because I think they were close to turning the ball over again. Aston Villa high up. You are listening to Aston Villa 1, Manchester City 0 on Talksport with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Enterprise has 450 branches with all the vehicles your business needs. Here is Jack Grealish again, left side into Foden. Foden trying to turn. Can't get it forward and back. He has to go to Gvardiol instead. And then it's collected by John Stones, who makes a couple of steps forward, then exchanges passes with Foden. Again, it's good shape from Aston Villa, because they're not allowing Manchester City to play around them. And it's well won by Tielemans, who's got it back to Digne. Halfway line now, flicked in by Rodgers. Intelligent ball, and then it's played out towards the near side, but Duran hadn't stayed onside, so he had to leave it, and it just spirals out and goes for a throw. Boxing tonight, Talksport doing a watch-along on the YouTube channel, by the way. Free of charge.
I actually listened to the listen-along last time.
Well, that's got a commentary.
it was Adam and the boys in the studio, and I was listening to that.
Right, okay. Yeah. So the watch-along that was broadcast. Well, we've got live commentary tonight. Here's Foden.
I'll be listening.
Kicking it clear. Yeah, it's live on the Talksport app and for free. From Saudi Arabia, the boys already there, setting up, getting ready to go. Here's Morgan Rogers, feeding the ball to Onana, on halfway, down the left, getting towards the edge of the area, trying to turn. It's played back infield towards Boubacar Kamara. And then, again, they just slow it up, keep hold of possession, and don't force the issue. Because if it's not on, what's the point in giving it back?
Do you know what? Try and go forward as quickly as possible. That's where the goal came from. But you're absolutely right. If it's not, then just keep it. We know Manchester City are built for possession and trying to, make it as difficult for the opposition as possible.
Rodgers dips his shoulder, feeds the ball to the edge of the area. Duran's got it again, tries to round the goalkeeper, but he just took himself a little bit too wide and then just befuddled his own feet by kicking the ball straight out of play for a goal kick. But again, Morgan Rogers, just a lovely little bit of innovation there, had the ball in the middle of the park, dipped his shoulder, took a couple of players out of the game, and all of a sudden had the chance to release Duran.
Do you know what? He's such a talented player, and again, I said it to Resh earlier, I really admire players who have had to take a backward step to take 2 forward, and that's exactly what he's done. You're always up for it against your former clubs, I can tell you. I can speak from experience, but not only what's impressing me what he's doing with the ball, but it's without as well. He's coming out onto the left-hand side. It's Tielemans who's almost pushing alongside John Duran, but you have to be very careful and very well structured and organised, and that's what Morgan Rogers is, playing out on the left when Villa don't have the ball.
34 gone. Ball switched from centre to left for Manchester City, who his game plan is pretty clear. Have a lot of the ball and try and do some damage with it. They've had 78% of the ball in the opening 34 minutes of the game. Aston Villa's plan is quite simple too. They're happy for them to have it and then break quickly in transition. Here is Lewis combining with Foden into the box towards the right edge of the post, and it's flicked behind by the right hand of Emi Martinez, who does well to get down and steer it beyond the post and out for a corner kick.
Well, that was brilliant between Lewis and Foden. Nice little 1-2s, and somehow Foden got the shot. It's a great save from Martinez, isn't it?
Good save from Emi Martinez, voted FIFA's best goalkeeper this week as well, to go with his Lev Yashin award. Here is the cross in towards the near post, headed behind, and it's away for another corner.
He's got to be up there for most annoying as well, hasn't he? But to be fair, if you're a Villa fan,
do you know what? He's really sweet when you speak to him.
Is he?
But I think he's got that sort of malevolent in him, hasn't he? He's got that sort of little bit of
he's a winner.
Naughtiness.
He's a winner.
He's an absolute winner. Well, he is a winner. He's won the World Cup.
The big one.
And the FA Cup with Arsenal, don't forget that.
That's my big one.
Yeah. Remember it well, Scott. Oh, given away by Jack Grealish on the edge of his own penalty area, and now the counter-attack is on. It's been picked off by Tielemans. He's fed McGinn. McGinn waiting for someone to make the break. It's Boubacar Kamara who does that, but it was the wrong ball, actually. He should have played it wide to the left, where Digne had made a dart into the edge of the penalty area, but they've won it back again. They haven't given up the chase. John Duran, brilliant. Back into Onana on this near side. Villa on the attack. Manchester City just not quite at it. They've struggled to create chances, and when they have, Emi Martinez has been there to pull off good saves. They've had 2 shots on goal, Manchester City, for 77% possession, whereas Villa have only had 23% of the ball, but they've had 4 shots on target in the game, and they lead by a goal to 0. Here is Kamara into Onana, holding in midfield. Back to Kamara once again. He's so important when he's fit, Kamara. He's going to be brilliant for them. He's a good player. Cut out by Foden. Foden gets clattered into. So does Grealish. And Matt Cash has just gone over. I tell you what, Matt Cash is determined today just to annoy Jack Grealish. That's what he's done. In fact, maybe he's just stepped over the line and he's given away a free kick, and he's picked up a yellow card, Matt Cash.
Yeah, it's not what you want to do when you know that the ball's coming out to your winger, and you know now you're one just slip, one mistake, one mistimed tackle away from getting that second yellow and being sent off. He's done really well. I talked about how he's in a real predicament from a positional point of view of the fullback there, you know, having to come inside but keep an eye on Grealish. The ball goes out yet again, but it's a poor pass in the end. But what you don't want to do is put yourself under pressure by getting that yellow card.
Look at the space on the right hand side, and here he comes again. Oh, I've almost reached him. Almost reached him. And did it flick up and hit the hand of Stones on the way through? I'm not sure it did, but that was an accusation. There was a great chance there as they pinched the ball just inside their own half. Cash had gone on an absolute bombing run down the right-hand side. The ball was aimed to him. It didn't quite have the legs to get there, but that was another big chance for Aston Villa. Now he's got to do a lung-bursting run to get back because Grealish is coming down the other side. The left winger cuts in right-footed, drives the ball towards the near post. It's an easy save down low for Emi Martinez. It's currently Aston Villa 1, Manchester City 0, and for the latest odds you can head to Betfair, the official betting partner of Talksport's Premier League coverage, where right now you can get Villa at 5-4 on to win the game. City is 7-2, the draw is 5-2, and that's all thanks to Betfair, who are paying out winning bets at 90 minutes with 90-minute guarantee. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org. This is Talksport, your home of live football. More football than anyone else over the festive period. This is one of 50 festive commentaries, and we've got a few more to bring you on Boxing Day when we have 10 live games for you. 15 hours of live football. Plus, of course, there's the darts as well, which is terrific. Here's Akanji, onto Foden, dispossessed, and I can tell you that Hull have taken the lead. João Pedro Galvio scores the opening goal, 1-0. And Doncaster have also gone in front. Oluwu has scored for Grant McCann's team. Oh, Pau Torres, he's overhit it, and then he's had to try and swipe it out under pressure from Haaland and just about got away with it. What are you doing playing around in that area? Now they try to come forward at pace. A ball over the top of Rico Lewis's head, but he adjusts well and manages to kick it away, but only as far as Rodgers, who runs back at him. He's got Digne on the outside. Digne's going to get the cross in here, but it's blocked by Lewis again. Excellent defending by him, not once but twice.
I think it might even have been 3 times with that ball over the top there, and he just got a touch on it. I don't think he's a fullback. You know, he's a midfielder playing fullback. These inverted ones, who am I to tell Pep Guardiola? But I personally, from a defensive point of view, better to have a fullback who can play in midfield rather than a midfielder who's trying to play fullback. It's, you know, those fullbacks are so important because it creates so much space and be vulnerable if they can't defend well. But he's certainly defended well there, Rico Lewis.
5 minutes to go before half time. Things have changed so dramatically for Manchester City, and I think that's the biggest cause of concern. And they've got a set piece to defend here, a long throw into the near post, which is headed away by Lewis again. And Tielemans feeds it back to Luca Digne, who's got a chance to cross from the left side and just miscontrolled it. Lewis was straight in on him, and actually probably could have been a foul there on Lewis, but the referee says play on. Kamara stops an attack from developing, immediately surrounding Kovacic, and kicks clear towards the corner flag far side.
Foden's body language there, though. You know, he passed the ball to Kovacic. Kovacic, yes, didn't turn and pass it on, but it was, when things aren't going well or you're frustrated in your own game, you kind of make body gestures and hand gestures, and that's exactly what he did. Just concentrate on getting on the ball and trying to affect the game. We know that we don't know why he's not had a good season, but he's certainly not had a good season after being brilliant last.
But it's so apparent for everyone that they're all in the same boat, isn't it? I mean, none of them look on top form. There's not one player that you sit here looking at today and going, yeah, they're at the top of their game, or they're brilliant, they're ready to bring it. The only person who really has enjoyed the football at their feet is Jack Grealish so far.
Yeah, he's been City's best player. For sure.
I suppose that's what happens with confidence, right? Because if you've lost 8 of 11 when previously you'd lost 8 of 106, that is a massive change in dynamic. Here is Foden, edge of the area, again hesitated as he was fed the ball by Haaland, had it pinched by Pau Torres, and then Aston Villa are attempting to clear. They're under pressure, tight in their left full-back position, and Foden does well just to get in front of Luca Digne. It goes out of play and away for a throw-in.
So what you're saying is City are human. They do have feelings.
I mean, I haven't done the test, but I'm guessing they are, yeah.
Not RoboCop.
What's most concerning is that it's not even the run anymore, though, is it? It's the fact that there's no sign of them emerging from it with any real confidence. I mean, last Sunday's performance was really poor. And goals are a massive issue. They've had the most shots in the Premier League this season, but they're way down on the list of goals scored.
No, the worst out the top 6, and you don't expect that. And they're conceding for fun as well. It's just an absolute nightmare for Pep Guardiola.
Well, there's 2 top number 9s on show today, but it's only John Duran who's come away with a goal so far. In fact, he's the only one who's had a chance. In fact, he's had 3.
Yeah.
Here is Kamara looking to send the ball out towards his left-hand side, finding Luca Digne. Digne brings it down, plays it into Morgan Rogers. Rogers, who is tightly marked, but he manages to play it off Bernardo Silva, and then it comes to Digne. Digne can't get past Rico Lewis at the moment. Lewis going towards the corner flag and trying to clear, plays it against the Frenchman, and it ricochets out for a throw-in down by the corner flag. Hull 1, Swansea 1. Portsmouth have come from behind to lead just before the break by 2-1 over on Talksport 2. Looks like a barnstorming game for Nigel Adderley. If you want to listen to it, you know what to do. Just download our app. You can flick between the 2 stations. A bit wafty from Pau Torres that. He took the ball out of the sky and just sort of helped it back towards the Manchester City area, but it's been picked off, and Vardiol has run 50 yards with the ball, and he's charged into the Villa half. He's laid it off to Grealish. Grealish with the right-footed cross into Vardiol over the top of the bar. It was brilliant from him because he started the move really, charging from inside his own half, feeding the ball to Grealish, continued his run to get on the end of the cross, but he steered his header over the top of the crossbar. What a chance.
Brilliant from him, but also brilliant from Jack Grealish. First of all, that lung-busting run from Vardiol. And he's sort of thinking most left-backs would just say, right, I'll leave it to you now. But no, he carried on. But Jack Grealish knew exactly what he needed to do there. It wasn't a question of spending a lot of time on the ball. Just get half a yard, put the cross in, and Vardiol's run, no one would have picked him up. Very, very unlucky, and Pep scratching his head lightly this time, thank goodness. It couldn't do much more than that. So close to getting the equaliser.
Deshaun Bernard has been sent off for Sheffield Wednesday. They're down to 10 players at home at Hillsborough against Stoke. It's 0-0 there. Here is Kamara, under pressure from Gundogan, trying to turn. Manages to feed it into the path of Matt Cash, who's in the right wing position for Aston Villa now, approaching the penalty area. Sunshine out at Villa Park, but clouds forming over Manchester City, who can't find goals and can't keep clean sheets. Just before half-time, it's 1-0 to Villa. Digne near touchline, a yard in from the white line down in front of us, in front of the warming up substitutes for Aston Villa. Ollie Watkins, Tyrone Mings down in front of us, just getting prepared should they be called upon in the second half by their manager Unai Emery. Here is Ezri Konsa, seeing it back to Emi Martinez. A lot of the football's been played in this area, hasn't it? In this Aston Villa half, with no real sort of penetration from Manchester City. You know, they've had a lot of possession of the football, but they haven't really created enough. That 2 big chances really. Emi Martinez making a save and a header from Vardiol, but apart from that, not much. Here is Silva down the right-hand side, trying to jink his way between two players, then goes to ground. Rogers emerges with the ball for Aston Villa, and he launches a run and brushes off Foden. See you later, fella. Then feeds Duran, then gets over the halfway line. Kamara wants it centrally. Got to choose the right pass. Here he does. Tielemans then into space on the far side. John McGinn on the edge of the box. He tries to get it back towards Rogers, who's joining the attack once more. He's in the area now. He bends it with his right foot, hits Akanji, and it ricochets into midfield. Anana's got Haaland behind him. He didn't realise he wasn't looking in his wing mirrors. Then Kamara steps in front of Jack Grealish and stops him from going anywhere, and that's going to be a free kick.
Well, it's opened up a bit now, hasn't it? Just before half-time.
1 minute added.
It was unlucky for Aston Villa's really good play, actually. Great strength from Morgan Rogers. Really was. He's got pretty much everything, hasn't he? So has John Duran. We haven't really seen much of Duran in, you know, the footballer, but at the moment, he's made that decisive touch.
England international now, Morgan Rogers, and you know, England have got so many options going forward now. Thomas Tuchel will be delighted with that. First game against Albania, live on Talksport in March.
Finally, he's going to be in charge.
He is. He's going to be in charge in 10 days' time. And that's going to be official. Here is Grealish over on the far side, but he's not allowed to go any further. City upset about the fact because they've blown the half-time whistle here, the referee Peter Baggs. Well, that's what happens when you've played the minute that's been added. It ends there. There's a bit of pushing and shoving going on, and Emi Martinez and Erling Haaland involved in a confrontation. Jack Grealish says something to him as well. Not the nicest and most festive of ends to the first 45, but Emi Martinez is not going to care. A yellow card came out there, I think might have been for Emi Martinez. Well, before this current run, Manchester City never lost. Now it seems to be happening every week. Aston Villa, the latest to put them to the sword, thanks to a goal from John Duran, and unless there's a huge turnaround in the second half, it's going to happen again. They're still arguing as they go off the pitch here, Grealish and Martinez, but at half-time it's Aston Villa who lead by a goal to nil, Rev.
Thank you very much, Sam Massaface. Yes, I think the cavalry's coming in. One of the training staff's coming in to just make sure that nothing else happens, because Grealish and Emi Martinez are not happy. Oh, they're just converging there as they're about to go into the tunnel. Emi Martinez is still doing the banter, isn't he? He's still turning around as almost as if to say, oh, why? What did I do? And Jack Grealish is giving it back to him. They're heading down the tunnel right now. Yeah, probably best that they go their separate ways down there. Yes, as you said, Sam, it is 1-0 to Aston Villa. 19 seconds it took for John Duran to get one-on-one with Ortega in the Manchester City goal. 16 minutes it took for Duran to get that goal. He now averages a goal every 82 minutes in the Premier League. That's the best record of any other player ever in England's top division. Of course, he hasn't played as many minutes, but I think he'd be pretty happy to keep that result for himself. And do you know what, Scott Minto? The game did try to sort of shift momentum a little bit, but what we saw was Manchester City with all that possession, 70-odd% possession, they couldn't make it count. But Villa, as you say, deadly on the transitions. When they are on the break, it looks like the goal could come from anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, look, first of all, I think Stu people were shouting, he's behind you, to Jack Grealish. Emi Martinez.
Panto season after all.
Exactly. We talked about what a class goalkeeper he is. But
he's a pantomime villain, isn't he, though?
That's exactly what
villain.
He is. Whatever the season.
Yeah.
But do you know what? He's a wonderful goalkeeper. He made a really good save. Look, the bottom line is Villa started really well. City were on the back foot. City started to wrestle back a lot more of the possession, but they're just so open on that transition, the quick counter. And the goal you could see was worked at the training ground. Martinez into Tielemans. Shouldn't really have been allowed because it was a straight ball. But he's turned. Rogers has made that third man run. The ball was played to him, and he could have had a shot himself and scored, but he was very unselfish and played it to Duran. And then City, they've come into it. Look, I don't think they've played bad. I think we're setting the standards of how City have been in recent years. They haven't played bad. The stats will suggest they've had double the amount of possession in terms of the possession, but they've the same amount of goal attempts. Villa have had one more on target. So there's not a million miles difference between them, but it looks like Villa are more intense, are sharper, and City just aren't. that ball, and they're very clever how they do it to get Jack Grealish free, is on all day. And if Jack Grealish, to be fair to him, he's made the right decisions at the right time. Sometimes it's taking people on, sometimes it's putting the crosses in. And I just want to see Erling Haaland, who I'm a big fan of, if that cross does come in, you find a way to get in front of your centre-half. And too many times that hasn't happened as yet.
Yeah, indeed. Jack Grealish, definitely the best player for Manchester City so far. One thing I did notice was when that first goal went in, and it was something we talked about pre-match after the interviews that we heard with José Guardiola and Mateus Nunes. It was almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. Once they go down, their heads drop. We've not seen that City before. I saw Akanji pretty clearly from where I am here. They look distraught. It's not a team that can say, come on everybody, we can do this. That was the Manchester City of old. Now you see when that goal goes in, it's oh no, it's not happening again, is it? It's not happening again.
Yeah, it was one of those players who said, we've lost our aura, or that's what we had. And it's almost Mateus Nunes. And that's the feeling there. They're not doing the wrong thing, they're doing the right thing, but it doesn't look like that's that real self-belief. The body language is say, do you know what, we're a goal behind, but we're going to win this game. They don't know. No. And that makes them human. I still fancy goals both ends. Yeah, interesting. It does make them human, and you're absolutely right. Fascinating tie here at Villa Park. Really is sort of leaving us guessing as to, which Manchester City will show up in that second half. It needs to be the better version, doesn't it, really, to be able to get something out of this Manchester City side who can't lose again, can they? It's only been one win in their last 11. We're going on 12 games now. This would be unprecedented. But for Aston Villa, they are the side definitely in the ascendancy and really buoyed by the Aston Villa crowd here as well. It's been a brilliant atmosphere at Villa Park, and at half-time it is Aston Villa 1, Manchester City 0, and second half is up after this.
Game day exclusive on Talksport with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Enterprise has vans of all shapes and sizes, so if you've got a plan, we've got a van.
At Betfair, we believe that to play different, you need the right tools. The boots, the world-class tactics, the science-backed nutrition. The pros have their tools, and with Betfair, so do you. Our safer gambling tools work just like the right pair of boots, designed to keep you on top of your game. Open the Betfair app to equip yourself so you can bet at your best. Betfair. Play different.
18 plus. BeGambleAware.org. $1.39 at McDonald's gets you a delicious cheeseburger. $1.39 at a concert gets you... Testing. McDonald's Saver Menu. Actually get your money's worth. From 11 a.m. Price and participation may vary. Price varies on delivery, subject to availability.
You don't just check in to a village hotel. You work out. You jump in. You play on. You tuck in. And drink up. Village Hotels. 33 locations with everything under one roof. A huge gym with pool and great membership opportunities. And a buzzing pub and grill with delicious food, ice-cold beers and live sport. Check out villagehotels.com and work out, stay, meet and play.
Hey, is your Aunt June still coming to Christmas dinner?
Yep, and her new boyfriend.
I'll get the extra chair.
And his daughter.
Oh, and some plates.
Plus her boyfriend. And his two mates, their girlfriends, their neighbours, their second cousins, twin sisters, the mailman, Glenn from down the road, his primary school teacher, my personal trainer, his dog, his accountant Bill, and that lady I met on the bus.
We're going to need to go to IKEA.
From extra plates to bedding and everything in between. Get guests ready.
Oh, and Grandma's staying over.
IKEA, the wonderful everyday.
Football is back and it's game on. Get the ultimate football coverage with the Sun's free pull-out goals. With the best writers pitchside for in-depth match reports, it's all about goals. And with unrivaled news from the Premier League to League Two, it has to be goals! Stay up to date on all the latest football action. Get your free copy of Goals every Saturday, Sunday and Monday, only in the Sun.
The Screwfix sale is now on and it's huge! Save a huge £30 on the DeWalt 18-volt inflator cordless, now just $19.99. And grab the aluminium 6-step platform ladder for only $59.99, saving you a huge 10%. Sale ends 5th of January. It's huge. Delivery fees may apply, subject to availability. See screwfix.com for full T's and C's.
We all fantasize about our perfect home. Watching the big game cozied up in the snug. Balmy summer nights with the kids playing on the lawn.
We're playing real life football!
But come on, this isn't real. Listen, if you're serious about making your fantasy a reality, find out what your home is worth instantly with a free online valuation estimate. Get real about moving. Get on the market. Most common time to obtain an online quote between 1st of April 2024 and 30th of June 2024 was under 3 minutes. Excludes Northern Ireland.
Game day exclusive on Talksport with Sky Sports. Stream the biggest Premier League games available with no contract on now. Like Crystal Palace versus Arsenal live today. Search Now Sports. 18 plus through our internet. Terms apply.
Christmas 2024 on Talksport. Your tinsel, turkey and tension with the in-laws station.
I hope she's not stopping till Boxing Day.
Christmas 2024 on Talksport.
Yes, big Christmas here on Talksport over the festive season. Make sure you tune in for all of our coverage throughout all of the games, across all of the leagues, of course. But here in the Premier League, we have a bit of a Christmas cracker for you here at Villa Park. It is currently at half-time. Aston Villa 1, Manchester City 0. Our Pep Guardiola side staring down the barrel of yet another defeat. Second half is coming up after this. Over on Talksport 2 in the Championship, it's Portsmouth 2, Coventry 1 at half-time. Hull City 1, Swansea City 1, and Sheffield Wednesday 0, Stoke 0. In League 1, it's currently Lincoln City 1, Reading 0, Bristol Rovers 0, Wrexham 1, and in League 2, Barrow are leading Fleetwood by 2-0, and Doncaster 1-up against Tranmere. So here at Villa Park, really interesting opening 45 minutes. What does that do to the odds then? Let's get the latest from Betfair, shall we? The official betting partner of Talksport's Premier League coverage.
Game day on Talksport with Betfair. Get a completely free bet on multiples or bet builders this Boxing Day. Opt-in and previous deposit required. Max free bet varies from £1 to £10 per customer. Minimum odds and T's and C's apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Sam Rossbottom from Betfair. Let's not ask about how you are. How are the odds looking?
Yeah, well, Aston Villa were 2-1 before the game to get a win today. They've been backed into 8-11 after going 1-0 up, and surprisingly, could have been, well, unsurprisingly really, it could have been a few more, couldn't it, in that first half. They've been looking very good on the counter, haven't they, Aston Villa? Manchester City, who were the favourites pre-game, now out to 4-1, the draw currently 9-4. Jack Grealish is having a lot of success down that left-hand side. Matty Cash obviously on a card as well. We've odds boosted him to score or assist, and that is now 3-1. But a lot of work to do for Manchester City there, 4-1 to turn this around. Should be an interesting second half. What we do need for our charity bet, we've got a charity bet builder, a treble on both teams to score, which we're waiting on. John Duran, anytime goal scorer, that one's in.
Happened, yeah.
Rico Lewis to commit one foul, that one's in. Yeah. So, as things stand,
City just need to score.
We did put our £50. The City just need to score. Our £50 charity stake could return £223 if City get a goal. We can cash out at the minute for £145. What do you fancy doing?
Oh, Sam. Matterface, I mean. I'm looking over it. That's what I mean.
Cash for Christmas.
Matty cash for Christmas?
Bank it.
Yeah?
Yeah, bank it.
Is that what you're going to do?
I think they all land, but I want to put some money in at Christmas time, so let's just take it now. We've had a good start, let's take it.
There we go. £145 going to the Bobby Moore Fund.
I love that. Well done, Sam Matterface. Well done, Sam Rossbottom. We really do like that bit of Christmas cheer for the Bobby Moore Fund. Thank you very much, Sam Rossbottom. Great to talk to you as always. Let's hope that for your sake, Manchester City managed to turn this one around. That odds update is all thanks to Betfair. Returns accurate as of 10 minutes ago. For verification, see betfair.com. Over 18s only. Conditions apply. Go to begambleaware.org.
Game day on Talksport with Betfair. Get a completely free bet on multiples or bet builders this Boxing Day. Opt-in and previous deposit required. Max free bet varies from £1 to £10 per customer. Minimum odds and T's and C's apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Such a huge day of sport here. Premier League action for you throughout the course of the day. We've of course got the boxing, the big fight out there in Riyadh. Usyk against Fury 2. We've got live commentary of that on Talksport later on, and we also have the PDC World Championships, which continue at Ali Pali. Talksport 2's fantastic darts coverage continues at 7:30 this evening. The early session started just after 12:30, and watching for Talksport is Mark Wilson. Mark.
Yeah, good afternoon. Rhys Griffin, World Champion, is through to round 2. He's beaten Karel Sedlacek by 3-0, whacked in 8 180s, an average over 90. Very impressive. He'll play Josh Rock in round 2. Next up, the final first round game, Richard Veenstra against Alexis Toilo. Coming up tonight, Luke Littler, Raymond van Barneveld and Damon Hetty. It'll all be live on Talksport 2.
Mark Wilson, thank you very much indeed. Yeah, you can continue listening to our fantastic darts coverage over on Talksport 2. Here on Talksport, though, following us here at Villa Park is Adrian Durham. He's going to be taking you around the grounds with all the goals as they go in the Premier League and EFL with Game Day Live. This is a G-Tech for Brentford against Forest. Adrian Durham, how are you?
I'm just fine, thank you very much. I love coming to Brentford, and I think this has got the makings of a really good game. Brentford's brilliant home record. Forest going really well this season, only lost 2 of 8 away. It's all set up for something special this a Christmas cracker, dare I say.
Yeah, I feel like you're right, actually. I mean, they seem to enjoy scoring many goals at home as well, so I think if they can give their home side something to cheer about, that would be good as well, wouldn't it?
It would. If you add the home goals tally of the top 2, Liverpool and Chelsea together, it only comes to 3 more than Brentford's total number of home goals.
That's crazy.
Brentford's tally double what Brighton and Villa have scored at home. It's an incredible stat. 26 in 8 at home. No other team anywhere near that. This is the place for goals and entertainment, no question about it.
Yeah, absolutely, no question about that at all. You're going to be presenting live coverage of Ipswich against Newcastle. Look, Ipswich still haven't won at home. I suppose with Newcastle, with a slight upturn in form, it's probably not what Ipswich need, because it's not the team they want to come and visit them just before Christmas.
Yeah, and Liam Delap's out suspended as well, which is huge because he's brilliant. By the way, make no mistake, if you've not seen him live at a game, then please go and watch him. He is going to be a really top striker. He's England's next striker in waiting. He's out today. It's a massive problem for Ipswich, so let's see what they can do. But they take on Newcastle. Yeah, we're around the grounds, all the goals as they go in, as ever, on the Saturday before Christmas. Some huge EFL games, some ongoing already, but some at 3 o'clock as well, so we'll be around the grounds, all the goals as they go in on Game Day Live.
Sounds fantastic to me. Adrian Durham, thank you very much and enjoy your afternoon. Here at Villa Park, in the tunnel, we saw a big chat. Pep Guardiola giving his team a pep talk in the tunnel with the cameras in full view, by the way. Deep in conversation. Erling Haaland really looking like he wants to make an impact. It was kind of like one of those moments of, all right, I'm going to go out there and do this. All of them were doing that. And then Pep Guardiola was ruffling the hair of Rico Lewis and gave Ilkay Gundogan a bit of a slap on the butt cheek as well on the way out, which was a bit disturbing to see, to be honest. But there they are, they're ready, and Carl Walker seems to be ready to come on. The captain was dropped for this one, wasn't he? He was on the bench going into this game. Are they ready to show their mettle? Let's find out what is going on here. Sam will talk you through that substitution as well. So as the second half is about to kick off, I'm going to hand you back to Scott Minto. But first, Sam Matterface.
Carl Walker on, John Stones off. And John Stones has just come back from another injury, another setback, another lengthy layoff. I hope it's not an injury that's cost him his place in the team for the second half. It's meant that there's been a complete rejig again at the back. So Gvardiol's moved across to centre half. Lewis has gone from right back to left back. And Walker has gone to right back with Akanji playing at right centre half. So every single one of those back 4 are not playing in the same position at which they started the game. We're underway at the start of the second half, with City shooting from right to left in those black and fluorescent yellow striped jerseys away to our left-hand side, and black shorts, with Aston Villa defending that goal and attacking the Holt end, where they love to attack in the second half, in those claret-bodied shirt with light blue sleeves and white shorts, light blue socks. And they haven't made any changes at the start of the second half. I'll run through the 11s for you in just a second, but what do you make of that decision by Pep Guardiola? Is it an enforced one, do you think?
I think so. I'm like you. I hope that John Stones is okay. Yeah, well, I mean, you want him playing. You want him. He's one of those guys as well as not just a centre half, but can step into midfield if need be. So, I mean, look, the back 4 as it looks, it could easily have started it. We were eyebrows raised with Carl Walker, despite what people have been saying about his form. Still, to drop him is a big decision.
Here's Kovacic exchanging passes with Haaland, then Rico Lewis chose the wrong option actually, and now a chance to break. Another one of those fast attacks from Aston Villa, which Lewis has held up, and Lewis is going to get a yellow card for, as he breaks a promising attack by dragging down Tielemans just short of the halfway line.
Yeah, definite yellow card, and he's tried to stop a counter-attack there, but no, listen, it's still a very strong back four, but I mean, coming into this game, Manchester City had already made, Pep Guardiola, obviously, more changes than any other side in the Premier League this season, which is slightly surprising, and obviously there's 4 more changes in terms of slight shifts. It's still a strong back
Rodgers
four.
dancing his way to the edge of the box, trying to get away from Akanji. No one was prepared to put a tackle in. And the ball eventually spills out to the far side after it's given away by Luca Digne. Goes out for a throw-in. Emi Martinez is the Villa goalkeeper. Matt Cash has been booked. He's the right back. Konza, Pau Torres and Luca Digne making up the back four. Kamara and Onana holding in midfield with Tielemans just further on. Rodgers and McGinn trying to support John Duran, who scored the only goal of the game, his 12th of the season in attack. Aston Villa leading by a goal to nil. Ortega is the City goalkeeper. It's Walker at right back. Akanji, Gvardiol and Rico Lewis making up a back four. Gundogan and Kovacic, the deeper lying of the midfield players, with Foden licensed to roam, Silva on the right, Grealish on the left, Haaland in the centre. Foden had a good effort, saved by Emi Martinez in that first half, and Josko Gvardiol headed over the bar after a cross from Jack Grealish, who saw a lot of the ball in the first 45 minutes. But what does the second half hold? Because Manchester City have only won 1 of their last 11, and there's too much space here for Tielemans in midfield, and he's got away and fed Kamara, and there's space on the right for McGinn to break. He approaches the penalty area. He's being backed up. A player went down inside the box. Here's Matt Cash, though, slamming it into the side netting. Well, John Duran off the ball was crunched as that attack took place, and the referee is just pausing proceedings here. It was picked up in midfield by Tielemans. He turned the ball towards Kamara. Kamara then went out towards the right-hand side. There was a tangle between Duran and Kyle Walker, and I must admit, I think it's outside the box. It was a misfire from Cash in the end. He went towards the goalkeeper's near post when he really needed to steer it centrally. But, well, City get away with it.
Yeah, first of all, it's a tangle, nothing more. It happens. Duran actually had his arm across Kyle Walker, and Kyle Walker fell over, and then Duran fell over. Not a foul for me, but it was outside. It just goes to show, and it was a poor pass, a poor shot in the end for Matty Cash. Goes to show still how vulnerable Manchester City are on the counter-attack.
Penalty spot effort from Callum Lang. It's not a penalty, but he's from the penalty spot from where he scored. Means that he's completed his hat-trick for Portsmouth, who have come back from a goal down to lead by 3-1 at Fratton Park. A festive Fratton Park will be in full voice, and they'll be heading up to 20th place in the Championship. They'll go above Oxford United, who have just sunk their manager and employed Gary Rowett. For now, anyway, it's a good start to the festive period for John Mousinho, it appears. Not so much for Frank Lampard, whose team look as if they're going to lose, although there's still a long way to go in that game. It's 1-0 to Villa here, and Matt Cash has it on the near touchline. Turns it back towards Ezri Konsa. Villa's record against Manchester City is a horror show, really. 1 win in 17 games, but that win did come last year when Leon Bailey scored the only goal of a very well-controlled performance from Aston Villa, actually. And that defeat actually spurred City on to win the title. They went on an unbeaten run that led them from deep in all competitions. 35 games unbeaten. After that little warning, more space for Tielemans again, and he's released John Duran. The flag is stayed down. He's in behind the defence. He's faced up by Ortega. He whips it into the corner. Now the flag goes up, and the celebrations are tempered. VAR will check it because it was tight, but it was another example of the game plan coming to fruition. I think he was offside, but it's tight because Rico Lewis has just dropped slightly. I think that has been checked, and the offside decision has been ratified.
Well, look, yeah, from a defensive point of view, it's actually a good line, because they're playing offside. He's ran offside. He's gone offside, and it's obviously just because now the referee's assisting it. If they're not, I don't really get it. If they're not 100% sure, keep the flag down, but then you put the flag up. You've got to let the play go just in case he was wrong, but he was right in the end.
It was a very quick check.
Very quick.
And I was looking at Rico Lewis on the far side thinking, has he just sort of stepped back into the wrong position there? Here's Foden picking it up edge of the penalty area, trying to shoot from distance. Doesn't trouble Martinez. This goal and flies behind. I'd like to see that again. They didn't exactly put the lines on. That's the fastest VAR check I've ever seen.
Well, we'd be complaining about VAR taking far too long. That was literally a couple of seconds. Didn't need any more than that, did they? Certainly didn't get the line out.
Definitely didn't get the lines out.
Wouldn't have had time for that.
Dear. Well, I'm sure we'll get to look at it again from a different angle. Here is Pau Torres clipping it up towards John Duran. Kanji allowed it to go over his head. Gvardiol is sweeping up behind him. Back out to the far side where Bernardo Silva has it now, being wrestled with Morgan Rogers, and it runs out of play and away for a throw into Aston Villa over on the far side. And this time last year, Manchester City reeling from dropping points at home to Crystal Palace. Palace came back from 2-0 down to draw 2-2 at the Etihad. Grealish has scored in that game. He hasn't scored since. But again, they managed the second half of the season so well. They came storming back, and they'll be hoping for a similar turnaround. But I don't know, there's something different about them this year. Something not quite right about Manchester City. In all positions in the field and in the dugout too. Cash chasing. Gvardiol gets there first. Back to Ortega, and it's back with the goalkeeper away to our right.
Honestly, Sam, we're thinking that they should be doing what they've been doing for the last 4 seasons, every single season. You know, just to go through it day after day, week after week, month after month, the intensity, the psychology of it all. You know, not just the physical side. And what Pep's admitted is a very small squad, and perhaps he's admitted he's made mistakes about not getting reinforcements in the summer.
Well, that's the thing, right? So if you know that it's going to be the case, and you know that you're going to try and refresh it, you would have thought that having, you know, like you said, never been done before, it's always going to be difficult, day to day, etc., etc. So what you need to do, right, is really refresh the squad? Or are you saying that they've done so much good work over the course of that 4 years that those players should be given the opportunity to continue that work?
No, I'm not saying they should be given the opportunity, but I think it's very hard to say, do you know what, you've just created history, something in the 136 years of English football has never happened before. And by the way, thanks, but no thanks anymore. But
you can still add to the squad.
No, you do. And again, I go back to what the Liverpool sides did of the 70s and 80s. They added, you know, the Fergies, you know, 1 or 2 players while you're on top, and they didn't do that. And that was a big mistake. And to sell Julian Alvarez for that money is brilliant on paper, but on grass, boy, have they missed him. They really have.
Well, Aston Villa haven't been perfect today, but they've executed a game plan which is sit and soak and hit. And they have done that so far. They lead by 1-0. Callum Lang's got 4 goals. What a Christmas he's having. And Portsmouth lead by 4-1. Here is Gundogan trying to get him down the left-hand side, but Konsa too strong, just edges him off the ball, and it dribbles behind and goes out for a goal kick to our left.
There's a possibility the likes of Chiki Bergerstein, who is going, and perhaps said, I don't necessarily want people to go on long-term contracts, or, you know, maybe it's for someone else, Hugo Viana, obviously,
they knew there was a change coming. I get what you mean.
Change coming. You know, Pep Guardiola didn't say that he was definitely going to stay until recently, and now he signed a 2-year contract. So maybe they were just thinking in the summer, look, maybe this team can take us through one more season. Then the change from above, and possibly even the management as well, then they can have their players in. But clearly, with hindsight, it was the wrong decision.
1-0 to Aston Villa, who have the ball on the halfway line. Morgan Rogers slips it down the left-hand side, invites Duran to chase. Across goes Akanji, good slide tackle by him. He did collide with John Duran. That was a coming together of the heavyweights that Usyk Fury would be proud of. The 2 of those crushing to the canvas, and both of Akanji and Duran need a little bit of treatment here. You're listening to Aston Villa 1, Manchester City 0 on Talksport with Sky Sports, and don't forget you can stream the biggest Premier League games available with no contract on now, like Crystal Palace versus Arsenal live today. Search Now Sports. Of course, there may well be that they dip into the transfer market in January, but Pep Guardiola warned yesterday that he didn't think a January spending spree would save them. He bemoaned the winter window, explaining its difficulties, that teams don't sell you their best players in January. You only get the players that don't play. That's why they've only ever really signed one key player in January over his tenure, and that was 7 years ago when they signed Aymeric Laporte.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing to do. I mean, it has happened. Look at United. Evra and Vidic, I think, were January transfer signings. Luis Diaz was a January transfer signing, but it's not easy. And I do think, it seems ridiculous to say here, but Manchester City just have to make sure they finish in the top 4. make sure they're not out of the title race, and that's really is why we love the Premier League, isn't it? We have no idea what's going to happen from here and in. The one true thing that we can rely on, that Manchester City are going to be very, very good and not very, very good right now. So everything else is a bit carnage. What's going to happen to Liverpool? Brilliant start so far, but can they keep it up? We know what happened to them last season. Chelsea, who saw that coming? Are they really title contenders? When at the start of the season, many, myself included, were thinking I'll take top 6. Arsenal falling away as well. Other teams stepping up, although we're not going to say that Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest are title contenders, despite them having a wonderful season. But it is a wonderful season in terms of the Premier League.
Ortega clears as we get back underway after both players have received treatment and are both still... actually, Duran is on the pitch, but Akanji is off the pitch at the moment. Here is Kamara, halfway into Onana. Onana back to Kamara, but it was a bit short. John McGinn comes across and tidies up on halfway. Across to Konza, and now Pau Torres, the slender, tall central defender that has been reunited with Unai Emery from Villarreal. By the way, I did like it when you said Begiristain. Yeah. When Scott speaks Spanish to you or Portuguese, it's always a special moment. Here is Rodgers down the left-hand side. Got any more?
Eu falava português, mas agora não.
See, Reshman's melted. Let's go off to the Premier League games that are happening over the course of the rest of the afternoon. Let's start with West Ham, who have been given a bit of breathing space to Lopetegui with a point at Bournemouth, and they're usually okay at home.
Can Quickie do this in Spanish?
Let's ask him. Brighton the visitors today. Here is Talksport's chief football correspondent Alex Crook.
I won't be attempting that. Finally, Nicholas Füllkrug makes his first Premier League start as one of 2 changes for West Ham from their draw at Bournemouth on Monday. Emerson also comes in. 3 alterations for Brighton. Veltman, Vifa and Gruder are the players who come into the team. It's West Ham against Brighton.
Stefan Ortega almost had a Fraser Forster moment there. He was passed the ball back inside his 6-yard box. He was closed down by John Duran. He hit the ball against John Duran. Fortunate for him, it spiralled out on this near side. Jack Grealish tried to keep it in, couldn't do so, went out for a throw-in to Aston Villa. Brentford are a different animal at the G-Tech from where they are at home. They face Forest today, who are having a really good season. Ollie Klink.
3 changes for Brentford from their cup defeat to Newcastle. And Burmo, Norgard and Damsgaard all return. Out come Pinnock, Yarmoliuk and Carvalho. It's 2 changes for Forest from their win over Villa. Yates and Dominguez drop to the bench. In come Morato and Elanga.
Rodgers again. Rodgers into the near post. It's saved brilliantly by Stefan Ortega. Down to his right-hand side. Plunging to turn it round the corner. It might actually have eluded him and hit the post, actually. It was a terrific effort. Up to the edge of the box. Very intricate from Aston Villa. Rodgers getting into the near post. Tucking it to Duran. Getting the return. And he's drawn it down and hit the outside of the post, Scott Minto.
Yeah, I thought it was a save as well, but it's hit the post in the end. But what wonderful play from Rodgers. The way he's dancing inside the box. Little 1-2. Then when he receives it, he's got no chance of a shot from there, but quick feet, able to move it to one side, and wow, so unlucky. I mean, look, 2-0, and I do not see Manchester City coming back from this. I thought there'd be goals from both ends, but I thought City would be a lot better going forward, and they're really not at the moment.
No, they're really not. They haven't created anywhere near enough opportunities, and this second half has been very tepid from them. They don't look right in any way, shape or form. Let's go off to Portman Road. Ipswich, one of 2 sides in English League football without a home win this season. Today, they take on Newcastle United. Ian Danta.
1 change for either side, and it's both caused by suspension, because Smodics comes in for the suspended Delap in Ipswich's only change. Joe Willett comes in for Joe Linton in Newcastle's only change. It's live on Talksport 2 at 3 o'clock. Ipswich Town against Newcastle United.
It's one of our bestest 50, and you can get it by listening to the Talksport app and flicking between the 2 stations. Just download it. And then you can flick between Talksport and Talksport 2. You can even ask your smart speaker to play Talksport 2, and you will get that commentary from Portman Road. Always a good place to go, Portman Road now. I think it's a cracking little ground. Ball up towards Gundogan, headed away by Conte. Flicked away by...
You're only saying that because Izzy's next to you.
Yeah, I'm only saying it because I'm going in a couple of weeks. And I'm looking forward to... I'm joking, Izzy, calm down. Izzy, our producer, is a big... tractor girl. Here is Onana taking it over the halfway line. Digne thinks he was fouled over on the far side by Bernardo Silva. The referee, Peter Banks, has waved away those protests. Aston Villa have the ball again on halfway. Manchester City have just been devoid of idea, and actually even the possession is starting to swing more in Aston Villa's favour now.
Do you know what? You're expecting the top teams, and they are a top team, they are. But you're expecting them 1-0 down at half-time to really come at the other side in the second half. And if anything, they've been worse. That diag ball to the left, Jack Grealish, has not been on. There's been no other play for them.
Digne's one high up again. They try to clear again when Akanji stretches to head it out of a dangerous zone. It's picked up by Onana. Lovely skill by Kamara to get it away from Grealish. He feeds it to the edge of the box. Tielemans can't control it. It rolls through to Ortega. It was interesting as you were trying to explain that, Scott, and you were saying they are a top team. No, they are. I was trying to, is he convincing himself or is he?
I am.
Or is he convincing everybody else?
I'm trying to convince myself, but look, we can only... We can judge on what we've seen in the past, but we can also judge on what we're seeing at the moment, and this is more than a blip.
Yeah.
You know, whether you call it a crisis, call it what you want, but it's more than a blip.
Gabby Agbonlihor has got to be here somewhere, and I'm sure he's saying, City, they're miles off it. Here is Kamara into Onana, back into Kamara again. They're just playing the ball around for fun now. Aston Villa on halfway. They move it out towards the wide right. Cash has it, turns it back into Kamara again. Onana, now Kamara. It's 1-0 to Aston Villa, live on Talksport. Villa have taken only 1 point from their 5 fixtures against teams currently above them in the table this season. And Manchester City did actually start the day above Aston Villa, who started the day in 7th, but that could change. In fact, right now it is going to change. They're going to go up above Manchester City with a victory. But here comes City with Kovacic feeding the ball out towards the near side. Grealish takes on Cash and then tries to flip it into the near post, but didn't catch it with any sort of the kind of precision that you need for a good quality delivery, and it goes straight behind and into the side netting.
No, but that's okay. You know, that can happen. Don't be afraid to do it again. If you get the ball in that position, take on your fullback again, and then the execution next time will be a lot better. But let's give a lot of credit to Aston Villa here.
Absolutely.
I just said about how I expected Manchester City to really come at Villa, and they haven't. One, because they've just not been good enough, but two, Villa have really kept the ball well. At times they've looked dangerous on the break, but also at times they've kept the ball so well.
And they've had the best player on the pitch in Morgan Rogers, who's picked it up and he's strolled forward, taking out 2 players and then fed it to McGinn. Vardiol was hesitant. McGinn gets to the edge of the area, gives it back to Rogers inside the box, left-footed shot, and finishes it brilliantly. It's a fantastic moment for Morgan Rogers, who didn't make it at Manchester City, but is definitely the villain of this piece. It's another City implosion, and the Villa fans are absolutely loving it. It's Aston Villa 2, Manchester City 0.
Well, Sam, just as you mentioned, as he was running with the ball in his own half, Morgan Rogers, the best player on the pitch so far, I was thinking, yeah, absolutely. And that has just confirmed it. My goodness me, what a player. And you know what? It's a dream for him. He'll obviously be feeling for his former club, but it's exactly the type of performance he wants. The way he receives the ball, pretty much in Aston Villa's own third. But he turns, he goes past 2 people, he lays the ball off. McGinn is on the ball, he receives it again, edge of the box, a lovely little turn. He doesn't even do that much, it's a bit too easy. But still he lets it run across his body, onto his left foot. And by the time he takes the strike, well, Ortega's got no chance whatsoever. Kyle Walker, for me, has to do better. He can't allow him to have that shot, but just, you know, when the top players make things look so simple, and you're thinking, well, I can do that, can't I? Well, not many can. He's been brilliant.
Terrific. Morgan Rogers, a former Manchester City Youth Cup winner. He scored against Chelsea in the final. He joined them at 16 from West Brom, but he has proved to be a bargain for Aston Villa at £8 million from Middlesbrough. And the Aston Villa crowd revelling in their 2-goal advantage, sing poor old Pep Guardiola, you're getting sacked in the morning. It's not going to be a 9th defeat in 12 games, is it? Well, it very much looks like it. It will be a stunning turn of events if Manchester City come back with 25 minutes to go. And you would never usually say that A year ago, if they were 2-0 down, I'd still expect them to. I'm not sure I do now. Here's Grealish into the box. The ball is aimless and beats Haaland and is picked up by Duran as Emi Martinez clears. He turns, runs forward. He's got on the outside Rodgers. Leaves it for him now. Rodgers comes past Kovacic with ease, weaves past Gundogan, moves into the midfield position in the middle of the opponent's half, draws a Akanji, who commits a foul and gets a free kick 10 yards short of the 18-yard box away to our right. Marvellous. Morgan is having a good day.
He certainly is. He's just been sensational. I mean, he's already won man of the match. And look, if City are to get anything out of it, they need to go soon, in the next few minutes. Because then we heard them talking about destiny. When we go a goal down, 2 goals down, destiny. Psychologically now, if they don't score in the next few minutes, then it will be Villa's. Whoever scores the next goal, though, game on if it is City.
2-0 to Aston Villa. What an early Christmas present this will be for Unai Emery. Going up to 5th in the Premier League. Pep Guardiola is not a happy man. He is pointing, screaming, shouting. Do you know what? He looks a little bit like he's gone dark side. You know, like when you're watching a Star Wars film and all of a sudden the guy you thought was good starts wearing the black outfit and actually isn't that good. He's all dressed in black now. He's getting very angry. Has he got a red lightsaber down by his side?
Who's his son on the pitch then?
Oh dear. He's called for Savinho to try and rescue the situation. He didn't look very happy. That coat is a bit sort of cloakish as well, isn't it?
It's almost Harry Potter bad guy type.
Here's the throw-in, down by the corner flag, in towards the near post, looks for John Duran, who heads it into the air. It's loose inside the box. It might come down for Rodgers, does come down for Digne, poked away by Bernardo Silva and put out over on the far side. Savinho getting some rather energetic instructions from the manager Pep Guardiola.
I hope it's not Jack Grealish coming off. He was the most dangerous player in the first half of Manchester City, and he's not been given quality ball in the second half, so it'll be interesting to see who does come off.
It's likely to be Grealish or Foden, and 2 English players who were stars of the future and touted as these great big hopes for English football, but actually this season have been really troubled by form issues. Here is McGinn into Onana, centre circle. Aston Villa are bossing it right now with 20 minutes to go. They lead by 2-0.
Got to be Foden if it's one of those two, by the way. I'm sorry, I'm a big fan of his, but not seen him at all. I don't know what has happened to him this season.
They get another chance here, Aston Villa. They kill off the game. Here's the ball into Rodgers, into the edge of the box. He's taken it down. He's got the goalkeeper to beat. Across comes Bernardo Silva. And Manchester City will be saying thank God for him, because he tracked the run of Rodgers when nobody else did. And as he broke into the box and was prepared to pull the trigger, Silva was there to stop him.
It's just they can't even get hold of the ball. Villa have dominated this game, not just the better chances, but bossed it in terms of quality possession. City just can't, even when they're on the ball.
Haven't they? Yeah. I mean, the first half they gave up possession to City. In the second half, it's been theirs. The whole thing's been theirs.
I think City have been really poor in the second half.
Totally agree with you. It's been a really disappointing second half. Villa have had 57% of the ball in the second half alone. In the first half, 67% of possession was with Manchester City.
Says it all.
Here is Akanji to Lewis. Have they had a shot on target in the second half, Manchester City? I'm not sure I can remember one if they have. Let's have a quick look. No, they haven't. No. Good job I cashed that out, that bet.
What was your bet? Both teams to score?
Yeah, both teams to score. But I'd had John Duran to score any time and Rico Lewis to commit a foul. He'd done that in the first half. Duran scored in the first half. So we got 145 quid for the Bobby Moore fund today, which is good.
Did douche, Rodney.
Here is Akanji sliding the ball forward to Gundogan. He finds Foden, whose strike takes a little deflection but hasn't got enough power on it to sneak past Emi Martinez, who drops to his right and pulls it into his light blue jersey, and it will clear away. It's currently Aston Villa 2, Manchester City 0. For the latest odds, you can head to Betfair, the official betting partner of Talksport's Premier League coverage, where right now you can get Villa 20-1 on to win the game, City to come back and win 50-1.
Wow.
The draw is 11-1. I don't think those odds have ever been as big in these circumstances for Manchester City since Pep Guardiola took over. That's all thanks to Betfair, paying out winning bets at 90 minutes with 90-minute guarantee. Terms and conditions apply. 18+, begambleaware.org.
Do you know what? It's a really difficult place to come and get the result, but we discussed how it's not quite the Villa sides this season of last, and yet they've absolutely dominated the game, or certainly the second half.
Still got Ollie Watkins to come yet. Here is Foden, edge of the area, poked away and won by Duran. He's then fouled by Akanji. The referee didn't see that, so he's relying on somebody else to tell him because he was facing the other way. He didn't see it, but he's given the free kick anyway. We are now going to get our substitution, by the way, and it's going to be Gundogan who comes off, actually, which is maybe a little bit of a surprise for Savinho, which will probably mean that either Foden drops a little bit deeper and Savinho goes out wide, or they're just going to commit more men forward here as they look to try and chase this game. It did take a long time to get that substitution on, but in chasing the game, they may well leave gaps, Scott.
Yeah, they could. And the way Villa are bossing the ball at the moment, they could easily just pull this Manchester City side apart, which basically what they've been doing.
It looks like Bernardo Silva has gone into a four-man line behind Erling Haaland, which includes Savinho right side. On this near side it's Grealish, and then Kovacic is on his own holding in midfield. McGinn's got it on halfway. Lewis comes across. It's bundled out of play. It's going to be a throw-in to Aston Villa on the halfway line with 17 minutes to go.
Yeah, look, I'm not surprised. Gundogan, obviously not quite the player that he was before he left City, and the plan wasn't to play him as often as they did.
They don't want to give the chances to Manchester City, though, Aston Villa, and Ezri Konsa almost played Amadou Onana into serious issues. It goes back to Martinez, then Pau Torres. Edge of his own penalty area is Rodgers. He tucks it round the corner, and Aston Villa looking to try and come up with a pattern to get them out of this high press from Manchester City.
Big one for me is Phil Foden. We know that Kevin De Bruyne has had his injury problems. We know that a few people have had their injury problems, and we know that Phil Foden at the start of the season maybe had a little bit of a niggle. But what has happened to him?
Mate, Morgan Rogers is having an absolute blinder. He has just tied Savinho in knots to emerge with the ball for Aston Villa when it looked like he was going to lose it. And you do have to ask questions, right? If you are Manchester City's hierarchy, you've let this player go. You've let Cole Palmer go. And these players are coming back and showing you just how good they are and where they could have fitted into your team.
Are you going to ask Pep that post-match?
Sadly, it's Adam Bridge today who's going to do that for us. He might do it. Here's a shot from distance from Foden, which goes straight into the gloves of Emi Martinez. I would, if I'm honest, if we had the opportunity to sit down and have a longer form interview, we'd definitely do that.
Yeah.
The issue with the post-match interviews are they're short, sharp, they last 3 minutes. You get 3 questions before he goes off into the dust.
Yeah.
So you've got to focus mainly on what's happened in the game. But that's definitely a question that hierarchy do have to have put to them, I think.
He's been pretty good in the game as well, hasn't he, Morgan Rogers?
He's been brilliant. He's been the man of the match. Well, you get to decide that later.
No, done.
Ball back to Stefan Ortega. And he was under pressure there by virtue of Tielemans pressing high up, and he is again as he gets it back and tries to spray it out to the far side. Akanji brings it down, sends it forward out towards the City right, and Phil Foden takes it on. Sheffield Wednesday lead 2-0 in the Championship against Stoke. Doncaster 3-0 up against Tranmere in League 2. Portsmouth beating Coventry 4-1 at Fratton Park. Here is Grealish onto the near touchline, trying to take on Matty Cash. Feeds it infield to Kovacic instead, and then infield further to Phil Foden. 15 minutes to go. Down the left it goes to Grealish. Grealish approaching the penalty area. Looks to go on the outside. Low cross, bobbles through the box. Might reach Foden, doesn't. Duran gets there first. And Duran will then hammer it upfield to get it away to safety. McGinn putting pressure on Gvardiol, who was the closest to it. Cash is backing McGinn up. And now Aston Villa have the ball again. And they'll do well to put their foot on it here.
Look, Jack Grealish for me has been City's best player, but he went down the wing. He cut the ball back and there was no one there, and Villa came away with it, and he kind of put his arms in the air. And again, what I want to see from him is then just run back, because when Gvardiol came down the left, then all he could do is play it down the line. He was 5 yards behind Matty Cash. But don't worry about whether someone's there or not. Just concentrate on your own performance. You played well today, but defend as much for your team as attack.
Here is Tielemans, who's enjoyed a good game, actually, I think, in the harder midfield as well. He's found that space in between the lines just to sort of open up Manchester City and find those passes that have caused them so many problems in behind. Onana, forward to Tielemans again, looking to turn and fire it forward. He plays it wide this time to McGinn. Good intelligent play by him in the centre of the park. Back to Kamara, into Onana, back to Tielemans again. Tielemans just loses out this time, that's my fault. And gives it straight to Haaland. Haaland runs at the Villa defence. There's 5 of them to try and beat. He couldn't do that, and out comes Emi Martinez in the end and slides across the ground and takes the ball into his arms.
But even there, you know, Erling Haaland, he's hardly touched the ball, but he's tried to do something. He's looked around, there's 4 or 5 Villa players, and there's no one close to him, whereas the Manchester City sides that we know, there's 3 or 4 players around where he can play little 1-2s around the opposition players. You feel like he's having to do it on his own. He just can't. It's not just, you know, Erling Haaland here. It's the players around him where there's no options for him.
Kamara, just short of the centre circle. Back to McGinn. Now into Kamara again. Tucks it to Konza. Bit of space for the gangly Onana. And then he squeezes it out towards this near side where Matty Cash is. Still, Villa holding on to possession, knowing that they're in command of the game now, knowing that they can go up above Manchester City with a victory here. It's a good position to be in for Unai Emery. And he knows that after a recent run where they haven't won enough games, certainly a victory over the champions, no matter how forlorn they are at the moment, is going to be a good sell to the Aston Villa supporters ahead of a busy Christmas period. And they've got a busy time. They've got Newcastle away next, then Brighton at home, Leicester at home, and that's all before they bump into West Ham United in the FA Cup here live on Talksport. Here is Kamara over the halfway line, now feeding Tielemans, who's run through the centre. There's lots of space on the left hand side for Digne and Rodgers. They've gone wide to McGinn instead, and the ball delivered to the far post is going to be cut out by Walker, who heads it behind and out for a corner.
And do you know what, just great credit to Aston Villa. First half, yeah, we'll kind of sit back. We know City, first of all, they started really well, but then City in terms of possession, and Villa knew how to try and counter-attack. The second half, they've come out. They've not just created the best chances, but they've dominated the ball, dominated possession. And you don't often see that against the Pep Guardiola side.
Oh, they've been the better team. They almost sort of went on a watch-and-see mission in the first half, and then they've executed in the second half.
And they're going for the third now.
And they have a corner over on the far side at the junction of the Doug Ellis stand in the Holt end. And it's going to be whipped in by Yuri Tielemans, the Belgian midfield player, who hits it right-footed in towards the near post. And Josko Vardiol reacted first to it and heads it clear. Cash retrieves it, turns it back to Boubacar Kamara. They want it far side, the left, but instead he's going to go for the right and the diagonal out to McGinn, but he's overhit that, and it's going to bounce off the turf once before spiralling out. And it's going to be Ollie Watkins who comes on for John Duran for the final 10 minutes. I mean, if you're if you're Manchester City, I mean, you must be thinking to yourself, oh, crikey, we've managed to just sort of get through to 80 minutes and Duran's only got 1 goal and he's had 3 good chances. Now they're taking him off and bringing on an England international who loves scoring goals.
And will feel he's got a point to prove. Yeah. He won't be happy that he's coming off the bench with 10 minutes to go. But trust me, he will be running around even more than John Duran was.
If you're Aston Villa, what a great position to be in. Taking off John Duran, bringing on Ollie Watkins. Now, I mean, some people will ask, how do you keep them both happy? Can you play them together? Well, the answer is in this system they can't, because that would mean leaving out Morgan Rogers. Yeah. And then right now, you're not going to do that.
Well, look, Ollie Watkins started his career out wide, but you don't really want him out wide. And I think to have that option coming off the bench if things aren't going well is so important. The finishers can be as important as the starters, but look, every player is selfish. You want to be starting a football match, not coming off the bench.
2-0, 10 minutes to go. You're listening to TalkSport. Aston Villa against Manchester City, live on TalkSport with Enterprise Rent-A-Car, whatever the mission, home or away. Enterprise helps over 120,000 people every day. It's Pau Torres bringing the ball out from defence, clipping it down the left, looking for the run of Digne, who gets engaged by Akanji. It was a little bit fierce, that, from Akanji. And he's had a couple of those, and that's going to be a free kick.
Yeah, but Luca Digne's got his hands to his face, and I'm sure he just kind of peeked through his fingers there to see if a card had come out. I don't see anything wrong with that.
Okay, all right. Oh, you're not having that as a knockdown, no?
I think they've clashed into each other.
Okay, well, maybe there'll be knockdowns later on tonight live on Talksport, because we got commentary of the huge unified heavyweight world title rematch. Alexander Usyk, Tyson Fury, live from Saudi Arabia. Our team in Riyadh have been bringing you exclusive content throughout the course of the week. We've got a YouTube watch-along tonight on Fight Night to bring you closer to the action than ever before. Alexander Usyk against Tyson Fury, the rematch. Live commentary tonight on the Talksport network and the Talksport Boxing YouTube channel. 7:30 start on Talksport after the phone-in with Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy.
Can't wait for that, by the way. I'm not just talking about Cundy and O'Hara.
Jeremy Doku about to come on for Manchester City with 8 minutes to go. Rodgers up to Tielemans. Tielemans trying to get it back to Rodgers. He does that. He's faster and quicker than Walker. And then he feeds it out to Watkins over on the left-hand side. He gets back into the box. Watkins shoots. Saved by the goalkeeper. He should have held on to it and brought Rodgers back in, because Rodgers had made a dart into the area and was unmarked. He went for glory there, Ollie Watkins. I'm not sure that was the right choice.
Let me tell you, Sam, he ain't passing there. We just talked about how he doesn't really want to be coming off the bench. He's only got 10 minutes to go. Really good movement, but it's all about Morgan Rodgers. It really is. The run he's got and the weight of pass. It's on his left foot, Ollie Watkins. It's a difficult angle, and it's a reasonably simple save for Stefan Ortega. But Ollie Watkins, if he gets in that position again, he ain't passing again.
Hole 2, Swansea 1. Ruben Sellés looking for a victory over Swansea. Portsmouth going to get a victory over Coventry. They lead by 4-1. Sheffield Wednesday 2-0 up against Stoke, who've just missed a penalty. Bristol Rovers being beaten by Wrexham. They're going to go level on points with Wycombe at the top of the table. Wycombe away at Stevenage later on. Our Game Day live show will keep you updated with how they're getting on. Lincoln 2-0 up against Reading, who are down to 10 players. In League 2, Barrow 2-0 up against Fleetwood. A foul on the near side, and that's going to be a yellow card for Josko Vardiol, who has gone wiring into John McGinn.
Yeah, that's one of that will look worse in slow motion. The way he's
right
come
on the ankle.
Yeah, the way he's come at him, but he's got the ball. I think it's a correct decision. In the past, it would just be brilliant, ball and man. Not anymore.
Off comes Kovacic, on comes Doku. So they've now got no central midfielders.
Jeremy Doku. Let's see what he does here.
Bernardo Silva, who is literally 6 inches smaller than me, he's 5'3", okay, is playing in central midfield on his own with Jack Grealish, who's now gone in there.
It doesn't look good.
Well, it smacks of desperation, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
I mean, the guy's a genius. We love him.
Yeah.
We think he's changed the face of football across the whole of Europe and probably beyond. But let's be clear, they are floundering a little bit at the moment. And look, maybe it's a genius move and they come back and score 3 goals in 6 minutes. But
no, it's not.
I'm not convinced.
No, you're right, Sam. You know what I think of Pep Guardiola. I think he's truly amazing what he's done. And not just in terms of what he's done, but the way that everybody tries to copy him, and not just in top flight football around Europe, but second and third tier.
Yeah,
that's not an easy thing to do, to be that good, that people everywhere, all in different countries, want to try and copy your style of play. But Bernardo Silva and Jack Grealish as your holding midfielders. He can't wait to get this season over and done with and really be ruthless.
Well, he was talking yesterday, and he was asking for a little bit of perspective on the recent run. He said he's not going to last forever. He said, I've had 40 days in terms of bad results. That's the truth when you compare it to 8 years, which has been quite good, actually. And that's true. But it is in these moments where, people do sort of look to see if you've got the answers.
Yeah, but it's 16 years since he's been a manager. Listen, he is one of the greatest managers ever.
And that's not in dispute.
No, it's not. So, OK, he's got a massive test. He's never gone through this particular thing before. But you can only do so much with the players that you've got, which in one sense sounds ridiculous because they're very good players. But at this moment in time, the players mentally have gone. We've already heard a couple of them talking about it.
But that's part of the job, isn't it? Getting them psyched up, getting them in the right place mentally.
He's probably not doing anything different in terms of that than what he's done before. Once those players go across that white line, it's down to them then to sort it out.
Foden to take a free kick on this near side. He arcs the ball in towards the 6-yard box. He's punched away by Emi Martinez. It will drop on the edge of the area for McGinn. McGinn with his back to the halfway line sends it to Cash, and Cash just hammers it over the halfway line and gives it back to Manchester City. This is going to be a 9th defeat in 12 games. City going to drop more points this season than they did in the whole of last, and we haven't even reached Christmas yet.
It's incredible, isn't it?
And Jeremy Doku, I think, got a little bit of a whack after coming on, and he's just moving gingerly, given away in midfield again. And John McGinn now trying to draw a foul, tussling with Bernardo Silva, and then Jack Grealish, well, I mean, unnecessarily so, goes scrapping in behind John McGinn, showing frustration and drawing a yellow card.
Well, look, it's been a tough afternoon for him. He didn't need to do that at all. That is pure frustration. I mean, Manchester City's best player, but I can't really talk about the second half because everyone's been really poor. He was the best player in the first half. I don't think anyone can hold their hand up and say, yeah, I did well in the second.
If Southampton get anything this weekend,
I know what you're going to say,
it means that since November the 1st, City have been the worst team in the league.
Unbelievable.
Here is Pau Torres at the heart of the Aston Villa defence. 2-0 to Aston Villa. And the ball is deep with Konza. They're looking for a third clinching goal here. Oh, they've given the ball away. Konza sloppy, gives it straight to Grealish, and then, well, they're fortunate that Boubacar Kamara is so good. And then Konza switches off, thinks it's going to go out for a goal kick, and allows it to go for a corner. Well, that's just sloppy from him, casual, and if they end up scoring a goal here, Manchester City, Ezri Konza would have allowed them back in the door.
Yeah, it would make things really interesting if City are to somehow score, but have they looked like scoring?
Short corner from Grealish into Doku. Doku on the attack. 2-0 to Aston Villa. Doku gets to the byline, pulls it back through the 18-yard box. It's behind everybody.
He can't do anything more than that. He's got past his man. He's cut the ball back.
Here's McGinn onto Cash. Cash running up towards the right-hand side, looking to try and keep hold of the ball. He does. Look at him. He's smiling. He knows that this is going to be a famous Manchester City defeat, because Aston Villa don't beat Manchester City. 1 win in 17 games. The last time that Villa beat City twice in a row at home in the Premier League, Scott Minto was a pin-up, Reshmin was doing her GCSEs, and I was struggling to do my laces.
Resh is still a pin-up.
Throwing on the near side. Kamara, yeah, I was 25. I was still struggling to do my laces. I wear slip-ons now. It's Kamara into Onana, then Tielemans, then back to the far side where it's with Pau Torres, who runs up towards halfway. He's got Watkins in the inside left channel, but he feeds it to Digne instead. Now it's on to Watkins. Akanji comes across, takes it to the byline. We're in the 90th minute of the game. Savinho, he is here. He's picked the ball up over on the far side, starts running up towards the halfway line. Emi Buendia about to come on. Savinho skips back into midfield and plays it to Bernardo Silva, who runs through the centre circle. Time running out for Manchester City. They're just about to go 5th in the league, Aston Villa, above the champions of England, who are dropping like a stone. Bristol Rovers have equalised at home against Wrexham, which means Wrexham will miss the opportunity to go joint on points with Wycombe Wanderers. Bernardo Silva will cross into the box. Haaland rises and misses the header, and it goes out on the far side.
Am I right in thinking Manchester City could, if the weekend goes really poorly for them, be 9th?
Yep, if it goes really poorly. It would have to go really poorly. I mean, that would rely on Bournemouth beating Manchester United. Brighton would have to beat West Ham. Fulham would have to win 2.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, they could still drop more positions. They're just incredible.
Off comes Morgan Rogers, and a standing ovation from all 4 sides of the ground, because he has been nothing short of terrific. What a way to remind your former employers of your qualities.
And do you know what? That's a really nice touch from Unai Emery. He's been brought off because he knows he's been the standout player on this pitch, and he needs a standout ovation just on his own. Fully deserved.
Well, it's been a very important day for Unai Emery and Aston Villa, and I think it's just underscored what a good team they can be on their day. They have been a little bit inconsistent of late, but now maybe with an opportunity just to attack the Premier League for a couple of weeks, they might end up rocketing up the table. It's such a congested top half of the Premier League table. It's so competitive this year that they want to be in the mix for the top European places. Here's Doku going on the outside of Kamara, losing his nerve and then coming back again. Goes back towards the edge of the 18-yard box, feeds it to Guardiola. He then slips it square to Walker. Walker down the outside to Foden. He's 5 yards back from the box, being hassled by Emi Buendia. Buendia then continues over to press Savinho, who picks up the ball and looks to take on Digne. He's being marked by two claret and blue shirts, so goes backwards to Walker. We've got 4 minutes of added time, of which we've almost played 2, and then Akanji almost gave it away. And this is the thing, if you give the way in this position, City, then their counter-attack is on from Aston Villa, who just allow the ball to run out of play and go out for a goal kick. And Emi Martinez, who doesn't mind conducting the orchestra, turns around and starts to encourage the remaining Aston Villa supporters to get behind their team. A few of the Manchester City supporters have left now. There's a few that have left in the Doug Ellis stand. The whole end is still packed. They know that this is a big day for them. The Aston Villa support is always strong, and they are helping roar their team to victory at home. It's a perfect day for Unai Emery. His team sat back, soaked up pressure, and struck on the counter-attack in the first half, and have been much the better team in the second. They've been a complete team in the second. A few wobbles at the end maybe, but nothing more than that. And it's been Aston Villa's day, and Morgan Rogers' day. He's been the most impressive player on the pitch. Here's Savinho, dancing his way to the edge of the box. Foden trying to come up with something. Might get a chance, does get a chance. Hammers it in after a mistake by Konza. It comes back off him, and from the penalty spot, he rifles it home, and there's still 1 minute and 10 seconds to go.
Well, it's the first time we've really seen Phil Foden get on the ball and try to be decisive with it. First of all, really good play from Savinho.
Oh, it was Digne actually made the mistake.
Digne's come across, yeah. But well done, Phil Foden. That's what we want to see. He's tried to have a shot. It's come off Digne. He's first to react. And then it's a simple finish for someone like him.
Well, what it was a sheer force of will from Phil Foden, who for the first time on the afternoon, by the way, it's taken to stoppage time, looks like he's had a couple of cans of Red Bull and is starting to run at the Aston Villa defence.
That's what you want. Just make something happen. He, along with others, just seemed to be so passive, apart from Jack Grealish in the first half.
First Premier League goal of the season for Phil Foden, and only his fourth of the campaign. Now that I would have been able to win the full bet. Here is John McGinn fouling Rico Lewis and picking up a yellow card on this near side, which means there's one more set piece to go through. By the way, remember Manchester City lost a derby with a 2-minute turnaround right at the end of a game last Sunday. Are they going to turn it round and rescue a point away at Aston Villa? Well, they've got a set piece here, and there's a high Villa line. It's wide on the left, about 10 yards inside the Villa half. They'll drip this in behind the defence. It's floated high. Martinez is coming. Martinez is claiming, and that should be enough for Aston Villa to get over the line. It should never have been nervy, because they have bossed the second half. But they just opened the door ajar to Manchester City in the last few minutes. It's been another intriguing edition from the Premier League. Another absorbing encounter. One that which Manchester City have lost. And Aston Villa have won. You know what these Christmas specials are like. They keep you watching right to the very end. But there's no end in sight to the City slump, try as they might. It's now 1 win in 12 games, 9 defeats in that time for the team that were all conquering, all consuming. They've just won the Premier League 4 times in a row, but they've dropped more points this season than they did in the whole of their last. Their now forlorn pursuit of defending the title will not be revived for a 5th consecutive series. For Aston Villa, it's another moment to cherish. A second straight home victory over City for the first time in 30 years, and they go above the champions in the table. City are on their knees, the Villa crowd are on their feet. Villa 2, Manchester City 1.
Sam Matterface, thank you very much. Well, what have we seen? We knew before this game it was going to be a really, really tight, tough one. But it wasn't. It was a walk in the park for Aston Villa here at Villa Park. What a performance from them. Take nothing away from Aston Villa. This place is rightly singing loud and proud. You can hear it. The crowd are absolutely loving this, and so they should. What a performance this has been against the champions of England, who, as Sam rightly say, they have now overtaken in the Premier League table. City are dropped down into 6th place now. That's a Europa League position. Aston Villa continue on the up, and they absolutely deserved that victory every single moment. Manchester City are heading over to thank their fans for coming. They are thanking them back. They're clapping their team, but they know this is a big dent in their season. It's bigger than a dent. It is a crisis now, because up until now we've always wondered, how will Manchester City win this back? Well, it's a 9th loss in 12. They've only won once in that run. They are winless in October. They have conceded 27 goals across those 2 games. That's an average of over 2 goals per game that this almost invincible Manchester City side have now conceded in just their last dozen games. It is quite an extraordinary drop-off. Pep Guardiola doing his best to show a bit of fight, to show a bit of pride still, hugging his players. He and his staff gave a big hug to Morgan Rogers, who scored that second goal against them. But my goodness, what a day this is for Aston Villa. What a slump this is. More than a slump for Manchester City. Scott Minto, as I say, we're going to take nothing away from Aston Villa, and we'll be discussing them more in a moment. But for Manchester City, I mean, out of form coming into this, they look lost after this. Where on earth? It seems a simple one to ask, but where on earth do they go from here? How do they get out of this?
Well, it is very difficult, because for the first time in a long time, Pep Guardiola has had a full week to work on the training ground, where normally it's been game, rest, okay, we'll get ready for the next one. He made 6 changes today. I don't know what more he could do, to be honest with you, but he's got to just go again. They've got to work hard. They've got to find a way to get a win. I mean, Villa Park is never an easy place to go, certainly not under Unai Emery, even though they're not quite the same side and quite as potent as last season, but there's every chance they still could finish in the top 4. I mean,
that's got to be the aim now.
Well,
Champions
absolutely.
League, right?
Well, for Aston Villa, definitely. I mean, I said again on the All Access podcast, if Villa are able to finish 4th this season and get to the sort of knockout stages of the Champions League, which I think they will, then that's just an absolutely incredible season, considering it's not as if they've gone out and been able to spend 250 million pounds. They've had to sell players as well. Remember Douglas Luiz as well. Diaby's gone. You know, they had to balance the books. And I still think it's going to be difficult. I still feel that City will not turn it round. Well, certainly not in this performance, that they'll be title contenders. So you're still kind of loath to say that they're completely out the title race, but common sense tells you that they're not going to do it. They're not going to go in the run that they'll need to, unless a lot of teams are dropping away. But my goodness me, Aston Villa's superb. Morgan Rogers, the best player on the pitch by a million miles, and that's something which I'm sure Pep Guardiola will be asked about. But look, we've seen it with Chelsea, with Kevin De Bruyne and Mo Salah as well. People peak at different times, but there's no doubt about it, he was up for this game.
Yeah. And
he really was a standout player.
He was, yeah. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Just on Manchester City, though. So they've lost to Villa now. It's Everton at home on Boxing Day. It's Leicester City away before the new year. Then it's West Ham at home. Then they've got FA Cup action. They host Salford City. Salford would be licking their lips now, wouldn't they? And then they're away at Brentford, just to name a few. And they've got PSG, they've got Ipswich away, and they've got PSG away in the Champions League as well, before they take on Chelsea and Bruges again in the Champions League. But, do you know, it's interesting, because Pep Guardiola, up until this point, is Teflon. Any other manager on this run would be up for the sack. But you're going to still hold on to Pep and say he has got the tools. If anyone has, he has got the tools to somehow find a way to turn it around. It's just that we're not seeing evidence of that at the moment.
No, we're not, Resh. But again, I go back to the fact of hindsight's a wonderful thing. I mean, anyone who says that his job should be in jeopardy, I'm sorry. It's
1 win in 12.
It doesn't matter. This is Pep Guardiola with everything he's done. It's not good reading. He's trying to turn things around. Resh, it's the players now.
Yeah.
It's the players.
It's something you said in commentary, that once the players have crossed that white line of not believing in themselves, this is what we saw out there. That's what is the difference now, isn't it, with this Manchester City side? Because as you say, Pep Guardiola's not doing anything that different, but then he has done things that are different, like changing this lineup completely. He's trying, but the players aren't believing it.
Absolutely.
Or in themselves.
Well, he's first of all, he's just trying to do the same thing. And then obviously after 3, 4, 5 games without a win, then he's going to try and do something different. You have to try and do something different. Again, I'll go back to the fact of hindsight's a wonderful thing. Look, he's created history that English football's never seen before. Let's not say after a bad couple of months, right, he's got to get the sack. Let's sit him down and say, Pep, you just signed a new 2-year contract. What do we need now? You know, Sir Alex Ferguson was a genius by being able to see, and he was perhaps a bit more ruthless than this Manchester City hierarchy was, and say, look, I'm going to get rid of him, I'm going to bring in him while we're still on top. I don't think anyone could argue. At the start of the season, if this squad was dismantled, people would have said, what are you doing? And we know that under Pep Guardiola, sometimes it takes a bit of time to get used to his style. But now everyone can see it. He can see it, the hierarchy can see it, the fans can see it, opposition fans can see it. Things need to be changed. But please don't be telling me Pep Guardiola has to go. Let's just sit him down. Pep, what do you need? You ready to go again? You've just signed the new contract. What do you need?
And
they made money, Resh. They made money in the summer.
Will that need come in the January transfer window? That's not somewhere he always sort of seems to look for answers. But I wonder this time, do you think that could be an option for Pep to go into the market?
It has to be an option. It's not one he wants to, because he's already come out and said you don't really get the top class players in January. But this cannot continue. No, so for me, the question is, what does he do? Does he buy for the real short term, or does he try and get people that we can still say, if we don't get the right people that can be at Manchester City for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, then we're going to wait. But they can't afford to be out the top 4, and I can't believe I'm talking about this, Resh, right now. We're not talking about, if we're being realistic right now, forget the title race. Get yourself back in the top 4.
No, I'm joking.
There's still a long way to go. We're still not even halfway through the season, but what we're seeing is not good enough, and it's not just 1 win in 12, it's 9 defeats in 12. There's another layer to that, and we've already heard from the players pre-match, didn't we, you know, talking to Sam about destiny when things aren't going right and we haven't got the aura anymore. There's a psychological issue there as well as an intensity issue, but it needs to be changed, it needs to be revamped. It's not an easy thing to do right now.
It's definitely not an easy thing to do.
Don't tell me he's got to get the sack. Please don't tell me that.
I'm not going to tell you he's going to get the sack. I'm just putting it out there that any other manager would have their neck on the line right now. Let's talk about Aston Villa, and because that is who we're going to talk about, because we're going to pick our man of the match with Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
Man of the match on Talksport with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whatever the mission, home or away, Enterprise helps over 120,000 people every day.
Go on then.
Go on,
I think there's only one name.
Me.
Go on, then you tell me. Go on. Is it the player who's scored and assisted in a Premier League game for the first time in his career and has done it against his former club? Is it the player who is the youngest Aston Villa player to both score and assist against the reigning champions in the competition's history? Is it him?
No, it's Luca Digne. No, it is, yes.
You had me there.
I mean, Morgan Rogers, what more can you just chucked out all the stats, but in terms of watching, in terms of beauty of sitting here as a football fan, and that's what we all are first and foremost, to watch someone who can just pick up the ball and run past people in the way that he just did there, nothing short of sensational. Worthy of being a Manchester City player in their very pomp. And let's see how he can take Aston Villa further forward and can they finish in the top 4? Morgan Rogers, doff your cap, enjoy your night, however you're going to do it.
Yeah, you feel that every single Aston Villa player will doff their cap, especially John Duran as well, getting that opening goal as well. What a performance he had. Ollie Watkins just had to make do with 10 minutes on the pitch. It was an all-round fantastic performance from Aston Villa today, but certainly the man of the match, I think all of us will agree, from today's game, is Morgan Rogers.